How do you build an empire? You don't start with glass and steel and concrete. You start with a single brick. Laid side by side together, they become something much bigger. These bricks are a part of history. The people who set them into the earth were building more than just a racetrack. They were building a legacy. They were building memories. They were building dreams. As decades passed, a kingdom rose around this 2.5-mile ribbon of asphalt. It became an international icon. Lives were made here, and lives were lost here, in a pursuit of eternal glory. No one has to say why this place is special. It just is. And though over the years the pavement between these walls has been paved time and time again, there is still a stretch of bricks by the finish line to remind us all that great things come from humble beginnings.
Say why this place is special. It just is. The Classic IndyCar Series captures a moment in time. A moment from over a decade ago in 2010. Next Sunday, a 30-plus car field will face off on RaceSpot TV for the 2021 Classic IndyCar Series Indy 500. But before that field can roll off and take the green, we have to determine who is fast and who has to go home. This is the Classic IndyCar Series Bump Day from Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Hi, everybody. My name's Kyle Heyer, joined by Andrew Cardinale for today's Bump Day festivities. Andrew, welcome aboard. This is going to be a fun one. 2 hours to qualify our top drivers, and a couple of them are going to have to go home by the end of this all.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Kyle. This is, of course, Indianapolis Motor Speedway. It doesn't really need an introduction. It is the Yard of Bricks. It is the place to go IndyCar racing. So glad we're going to be doing so, at least in a way today, racing on the timing sheets, trying to get the best times these guys possibly can for Bump Day. Of course, a lot of the positions of the starting grid already finalized. However, these are a lot of those other guys that maybe couldn't quite get in, maybe had a bad qualifying run, maybe even got caught out by an errant bit of wind and wrecked on their qualifying lap not so long ago.
So today we'll be taking a 4-lap average of the times that everyone will run today. They will be on the left-hand side of the screen in the ticker once we get rolling. Of course, they will not be ordered by their average. They'll be ordered by their fastest, but we'll have a sheet to keep you all updated throughout the event here. The original design of the oval here was supposed to be 3 to 5 miles long and even wider than it is today, but this has become the mecca of North American motorsports, and today we qualify for next week's Indianapolis 500 for the Classic IndyCar Series. Presented by the IndyCar Ministry. So, heading down to the racetrack here in just a minute. We're running the older IndyCar, Andrew, the IR09. It's extremely fast, extremely nimble, but at over 230 plus miles an hour on the straightaways, you're going to have to manage a whole lot of speed and a whole lot of downforce.
Yeah, you know, Kyle, of course, today's Indy cars, especially on speedways, look really good, look really sleek, they look fast. This is kind of where I gravitate towards as far as what I think of as an Indy car. This is what I grew up with personally, and maybe that dates me a little bit young, but hey, point being, this is the essence, in my opinion, of IndyCar racing. So glad it's been immortalized here on the iRacing.com sim. Looks fantastic, drives great, it moves quickly like you said, and it's going to be a little bit of a different challenge for some drivers that maybe are making a one-off start potentially in this 500. A lot of these guys, obviously, they're part of the classic IndyCar series. They're used to it, but some of these guys that maybe are making a one-off might be a little bit different. Small little things here and there that really could catch you out, especially today where speed is everything.
Speed is going to be everything. 2 hours go up on the board now, and now the drivers will go one by one and get 4 laps to prove that they should be in next week's Indianapolis 500. For Hans Petconin, in the number 8 car, he's going to roll off. He'll be the first of approximately 20 drivers that we've got going for the last couple spots, and we should quickly update you on what the situation looks like. We've got a handful of times remaining left for drivers to qualify, but again, we're going to be sending at least 3 of them home today, and probably more than that. But Petconin, the first driver on track in the number 8, and accelerates down the back straightaway to begin his flying lap next time by the yard of bricks.
Hans going to work into turns 3 and 4, and this is the calm before the storm, really, Kyle. This is where guys feel pretty okay, just getting up to speed. Maybe feeling if there's a small difference that they might need to change after this run. And, of course, these guys will have an opportunity to make this run. Maybe it didn't quite feel right. Maybe something just didn't, I don't know, maybe they need more rear wing, a little bit loose, want to, I guess, diminish scrubbing speed. Of course, that is the essence of qualifying. You want to not scrub speed. You want to go as fast as you can in a straight line and also make it around the corners. So this is a good opening run here for Hans. Get a feeling for the car. These guys have had a little bit of time to do so far. Yeah, I mean, there's only so much you can say about a driver getting ready to go out for the first qualifying run of the day. We're going to see a lot change, I think, over the course of the day. Weather's going to change a little bit. We are in dynamic weather. That means that these guys are going to have opportunities later to go out for better runs later on when maybe the sun is at a lower angle, you know, what have you, more shadows, cool the track down. But only so much you can say here, Kyle, is, well, there's our first time, a 40.023.
Yeah, Petconin drops the first lap of 40.023, and you can see the speed on the bottom right hand of the screen, 225 through the middle of turn number 2. Now remember, on the left-hand side of the screen, the lap time, the quickest lap time will set the driver in the order on the ticker, but the rolling average of the last 4 laps will be what is displayed there as the time, so that will continue to update throughout this 4-lap run for Hans Petconin and the other drivers here today. Out of turn number 4 to complete the second of 4 laps, Petconin comes across the line. Is it quicker than the last? I would expect it to be 40.0 flat, so Petconin's average will drop to a 40.012 on lap 2.
And that average means so much. So the first lap really is going to matter. Usually in qualifying, you have a dead lap, pretty much, a giveaway lap, depending on where you are. Sometimes the first lap is better, sometimes the second lap is better. This is not that way. You've got to execute every single lap, be on your marks, scrub as little tire as you can in the corner and on exit, and of course get that line perfect so that you're down as far as you can in the corner without getting onto those curbs here at Indy or the grass. That'll crash you.
Sure will. Here's what 230 miles an hour looks like from the start-finish camera in a flash. Average lap time will go up slightly. 40.005, or actually down again. So last lap was a 40.005, so a little quicker on the average. So 40.009 for Hans Petconin now. And this is going to be his final lap.
So do we break into the 39s here? We've had a 40 flat. Somehow we had 000. That's rare. A 40.005, and of course, one in the 40, I think, what was it, an 8 thereabouts the first lap. So do we hit a 39 here? We'll see.
Checkered flag for Hans Petconin to cross the line. A 40.015, so that average going to drop down a little bit more, but actually no correction. 30.998 is the corrected lap time there in the books.
Just barely in the 39s. Do we get faster than that? Do we get deeper in the 39s? We'll see. And of course, the day is going to go on, and the weather's going to change a bit. Track conditions will change slightly. Here's Stefan Rossman working into turn number 1, the number 353. Car looks pretty stable through the first corner. Maybe a little yawed out at the exit of 1, but I think looks okay.
It looks good so far, and again, we'll know at the end of the lap, the first lap, where he will be. Hans Petconin at the top right now with a 40.006 lap average. Here comes Stefan Rossman. And looks very nice so far. These older Indy cars really stick to the racetrack very well. They had a lot of downforce built into them, but they also are trimmed out pretty well here, Andrew. They're not going to have a lot of stick because they're going to get that rear wing as far out of the air as they can. First lap through a 40.4. That's going to be a little bit off of where Petconin was.
Yeah, they're going to try and trim that rear wing out, but it really is a dinner table. Look at how wide that wing is. I guess long, if you will, going the length of the car a little bit in the rear. You could eat dinner on that thing. Down to turn number 3, Rossman will go. A 44.96. That feels a little bit quicker, I think. Maybe a little bit slower. Honestly, the first lap for Petconin is skipping my memory, but regardless, we'll see what he can do lap 2. This is going to be important.
So Stefan Rossman across for lap number 2. Will he improve from a 40.496, a 40.346? That'll drop the average just a little bit, but not quite where Petconin was in the number 8.
Yeah, that's a little bit off. If you recall, lap 2 for Hans was a 40 flat, a 40.000. This is 0.3 off of that.
Yeah, so down a little bit. Now, everyone here has open setup, so they're all tweaking to make their cars as fast as possible. Now, for the IndyCar qualifying day, you want to have this car trimmed out and basically as slippery as you can in a straight line. I would bet, though, if you were to race these two setups that these two drivers have just chosen, that Rossman's would probably race better, Andrew, but qualifying is what we're doing today. You have to have that car trimmed out, 40.342 this time through, so continues to drop the average, but not quite what he was looking for in terms of overall pace.
Yeah, and there's no impound or anything. You can change anything you want. You can throw the kitchen sink at this qualifying car. It's not like you have to race it. So that's the nice thing about that. You don't have to worry about a change that you make in qualifying being, held to you in the race. So literally, do anything you want here. Throw the kitchen sink at it. Make it as quick as possible in a straight line, but also get around the corners with relative ease. And it seems like Hans Petconin winning in that battle. Rossman will work out of turn number 4.
Across the line now for the end of his 4th and final lap. Checkered flag for Stefan Rossman, 40.351. His best yet. No, not quite his best, a little bit off his best, but a 40.388 average for Stefan Rossman. Now Ethan
Next up on
Egan.
the speedway.
Sorry.
And this is our points leader.
Yes, so the points leader around the racetrack. This is going to be a fun one, Andrew, to see how he can do, but green flag out for the number 20.
Yeah, the important thing regarding this being our points leader is, well, he's our points leader and he's in bump day. So this is not a usual place for a points leader in Indy 500 qualifying. You're not usually down, while qualifying on bump day. This is worst case scenario if you're coming in and needing to get points going into the finale as well, I believe. You correct me if I'm wrong there, but I was taking a look at the schedule. I only see 12 races on through 11 of them so far. So this is going to be very, very important for Ethan. Obviously, you don't need to go up there. You don't need to get the best time today. You just need to make it into the show. But when everybody's going to be so close in times, that's going to be tough to do. You see the spread is only a couple of tenths so far. But into the 39s, lap 1.
Yeah, that is telling of how the rest of this run is going to go. We've seen the first lap be one of the slower laps for our previous 2 contestants, but Egan running a 39.938 on the opening lap. That is quick, and that will put him to the top of the board if he can complete the average laps ahead of Petconin, whose average was a 40.006.
Maybe I'm just spoiled from modern Indy cars, but I was pretty surprised when the first 2 cars only had 139 between them, and that was the last lap of Hans' run. I was very surprised. So seeing Ethan dip into the 39s lap 1, I think, is a lot more what I was expecting, at least down those lines. Lap 2 is going to be a 39.916, so a bit quicker.
Now has his average at 39.927, the average of his first 2 laps, now entering his 3rd up onto the back straightaway. Watch the speed climb. 227, 228, 229, 230. Can he break 230? Yes, he can. 231 max speed going off into the 3rd corner.
He'll work through 3 and 4. Far end of the speedway, and on turn 4. This is a weird kind of placement of the start-finish line. A lot of tracks, you expect it kind of dead center in the straightaway. Of course, if you're familiar with Indy, the Pagoda is much further down towards turn 1, now across the line, and will enter the first corner. That last lap was going to be a 39.939, a little bit slower, going to hurt the average ever so slightly. If anything, almost evening the average out with that last lap time.
Out of turn 2 and on the back straightaway for the final time, Ethan Egan in the number 20. Off into the third corner now, just shy of 230 miles an hour. And coming back to the checkered flag, I would expect him to remain on top of the standings chart and be the quickest of bump day. Checkered flag for Egan across the line. What can he run? 39.987, so drops some speed there at the end, but retains the fastest 4-lap average.
So currently fastest on bump day. That'll line him up, what, 23rd? I think 23rd, right, for the 500 if he holds on to that?
I think that's correct, as we've got Gavin Hibbs now crossing the line to begin his 4-lap run.
Yeah, so 23rd position, that's what these drivers are fighting for. 23rd on through 33rd, so 11 positions up for grabs. Which means if we get over 11, obviously we're sending at least one driver home. Hibbs works down to turn number 3, the unsponsored number 95. I like that paint, though. It's something about that speaks to me.
It's very nostalgic for some reason. It kind of reminds me of the old Shell liveries, I suppose, or the Pennzoil cars. Across the line now for Gavin Hibbs, lap number 1. Is he in the 39s? No, he's not. 40.336 puts him third at the moment. Well, actually, it would be 4th average, but 3rd fastest lap. So we'll see if he can pick it up.
There's an element of Shell, an element of Pennzoil, an element of DHL in that car, maybe a little bit. Just, it speaks to me. It works for an IndyCar livery, and it looks fast. He's working on the backstretch here. Lap number 2 currently underway for Gavin Hibbs. He's already faster, at least fastest lap time-wise, faster than Stefan Rossman. So currently sitting 3rd in that regard of the speed charts. We'll see where he evens out to with the average here shortly. Of course, the fastest time of the day so far, I guess fastest qualifying effort of the day would go to Ethan Egan. At least unofficially, but officially in their spreadsheet right now is a 39.945. That is the only average lap time in the 39 so far, and Hibbs is nowhere near it, a 40.23 there, so this is a lot more akin to what we saw from Stefan Rossman.
Yeah, 3:53 was a little bit off the pace there, but we'll see if Hibbs can kick up the notch here a little bit and put himself into position. Again, remember on the left-hand side, the times are organized by fastest singular time, but the average is what you're seeing in the column. Hibbs across the line, that time through a 40.230. That was the quickest he has run thus far as he enters his last lap.
I know we're careful to make that distinction that that's the fastest lap time over there, but it is at least working out. So that is the order right now. Egan fastest, then Petconin, then then Hibbs, then Rossman. Hibbs working through turns 3 and 4 for the final time. We'll see what he can do across the line. A little bit quicker as this run goes on, looking to at least dip into the 1s here. At least got to get into the 40.1s, I think.
Cross the line, can he get a 40.1? Hibbs, 40.263. Which will notch up the average by just about 1,000th of a second, but that's not going to be enough to gain him any more ground. So we jump now to Bart Feuerstein in the number 21. He will begin his 4-lap average.
So the number 21 will work down to turn number 1. And one thing I always like about Indianapolis here, Kyle, is taking on boards with Indy cars. It just, I don't know, something speaks to me. Growing up watching Indy 500s, just something always, I don't know, it tickled the back of my brain, if you will. Just, it always hit the right way. Watching Indy cars from an onboard camera, work around Indianapolis Motor Speedway, you got the grandstands off to your right. It almost feels like you're in between 2 big walls, almost like in a corridor through each of the short chutes on each end of the speedway. You get back onto the front stretch, everything opens up. You get the pagoda on the left, those stands on the left, the big grandstands on the right. I don't know. Indy just has a certain vibe to it, and I'm sure all these drivers are kind of getting into that mood now. Obviously, they had pole day not so long ago to kind of get warmed up about a week ago, but just, I don't know. Something about Indianapolis always speaks to me. It's always good to see an Indy car at this speedway, even virtually. First lap for Feuerstein goes to a 40.339, so a 40.34, if you will. It's one of the slowest, but not the slowest that we've seen for lap 1.
Have you had the opportunity to go to Indianapolis Motor Speedway before, Andrew?
I've not, and I need to.
I was just there a couple of weeks ago, actually last weekend, in fact, and every time I go in there, it is just amazing to me, the scale of the place. And every time you walk in, you feel like this is You know, you hear of Monza in Italy being called the Temple of Speed. Well, it feels almost religious walking into Indianapolis Motor Speedway. You know, for a race fan, it feels like it's the place that you're supposed to be. And there's something magical about that. And I've also had the fortune last year of seeing IndyCar there, at least at the road course. And just there's something just right about hearing those turbo V6s reverberating off the grandstands. It is truly something special that I hope everybody at some point gets a chance to experience. Here comes Feuerstein now entering his final lap of qualifying, this time through a 40.343, and kind of working middle back of the pack now in the times.
He seems to be a little bit just off. Oh, that's a big bobble. That's going to be a shunt into the wall. Hard in the wall for Bart here. And I was just going to mention, I was noticing some interesting inputs. He was a little bit low into 4. That washed him up the racetrack out of 4 and coming to the white flag. And that time he exited turn 1 a little bit low down the racetrack, which set him up for a bumpy, low entry into turn 2 right here. He's already low down. He's already in those bumps. A couple of years ago in the iRacing official 500 running that I did, well, I didn't do very well because I hit those bumps on the inside of turn 2. So watch that here. If you just get a little too far down on entry to that second corner, Kyle, it's very easy to hit those bumps, unsettle the race car, and that's exactly what happens. You either just go sliding out into the wall, or you drift around, try and save it through 2, but you're not going to save an Indy car once he gets that sideways.
No, big wreck for Feuerstein, and he will not get a time, or at least a 4-lap average in as we go back to green this time on the track. Sebastian Kinder in the number 97 will start his laps.
So, of course, that run scratched for the 21 car, but now Sebastian Kinder going to begin his own. This is his first flying lap. I dare say teammates are at least out of the same stable. I've noticed this VOR insignia on some cars. I know we'll have at least a couple more of those throughout the field. Julian Altena will be in one of those. The 97 comes out of turn number 4, and we'll head back down the front stretch. We'll see what this first time is.
Cross the line for Kinder, 40.1. Pretty decent time. That would put him third on the board in terms of overall fastest lap, singular.
But he's already trending second, and that's the cool thing to watch about IndyCar qualifying at Indianapolis. He's already trending second. He's only second in first lap times to Ethan Egan. So he's quicker than Petconin, quicker than Rossman, Hibbs, Feuerstein, who, of course, his run is now invalidated with that crash. But Kinder already trending pretty good. It's a matter of where this second lap goes now. Does he continue trending that direction, or does he stagnate? Because if he stagnates, he could even back out to be third or fourth.
Cross the line to complete his second lap. 40.137, sort of in the same realm. We'll drop the average just a touch.
How do you like that for consistency? A 139, a 137?
About as good as you can get, unless you're getting it on the dot every lap, but it's a 2.5-mile track. It's pretty hard to nail that directly.
Yeah, that's really solid for Kinder, so a pretty consistent car so far. I think he's got to trend a little further south, I guess north, however you want to look at it. It needs to be quicker. I don't know which way it would go, right? I mean, you go, I guess, north up the speed charts, south because you want to take a lower time. Anyways, let's come across the line and wrap up lap number 3 here. Of course, lap number 3 of 4. If you're unfamiliar with IndyCar qualifying, these guys had pole day a week ago. Everybody went out, was able to run laps. They took the top 22, I suppose. Those drivers already locked into the field. The top 9, they were able to run for pole day, specifically pole day, and they were able to go back out, make another run, abandon their laps from earlier, and try and go for pole. So that's already been sorted out. We have the privilege of covering bump day, where everybody else tries to make the next 11 positions. So 23rd on through 23rd, or sorry, 23rd through 33rd. There we go. That's 11 spots. And right now, Kinder is trying to at least solidify himself in second of the cars that have run so far. Across the line, he will go. With his 4th lap time, the average drops to a 40.151. Pretty decent run.
Pretty decent run for Kinder, and I think we're qualifying 9 spots today, so down to P30.
So a couple of provisionals then.
Yes.
That would do it.
So next driver on track, Stefan Schlocker in the number 89. He's beginning his 4-lap run. It goes quick here. They've got this down to a science, don't they, Andrew?
Yeah, I mean, I've noticed that as soon as one car is, I think, beginning their 4th lap, the next car is already rolling. Maybe it's even sooner than that. They've got this down to a system. It's rolling along nicely. Yeah, they're zero complaints. You guys are moving nicely in thing. I guess when you have X amount of cars going for 4 laps apiece, you kind of have to.
Yeah, you really have to nail it down. Across the line now for Schlocker on lap number 1 of 4. 40.356. Not quite what he was looking for, I'm sure, but still got another 3 laps to average it back out. But what we're seeing, Andrew, is that if your first lap is off by a couple tenths of a second, we're not seeing people throw tenths around in the average count. They're throwing around thousandths. So it really seems to, if your first lap is off pace, it's very difficult to dig yourself out of that hole that you create because you're not really going to improve by multiple tenths a lap. It's not that drivers are making mistakes. It's that they either didn't get a good enough run to the line or they're trimmed a little bit with a bit more downforce for stability.
Yeah, I mean, there's a crazy amount of consistency across the board. I'm just looking at the laps that have been logged so far. If you go back to Petconin, he hit a 40.023 rather. So already down to a 40.0.
Wow, that was close. You see how close Schlocker got to the wall at the exit of turn 1? That was about as close as you can get to without hitting it.
Even just quickly turning my head back over to the screen to see what you were going, I saw he was there. But the consistency is insane so far. But Cannon was right at a 40.0 every single lap, dipping into the 39.9s once on that final lap. Rossman, very consistent. Started a little bit slow, but settled right into the 40.3s. Egan, of course, in the 39.9s, and so on and so forth. These lap times have all been very, very similar across the board. It almost seems like they're AI drivers out there right now, just hitting their marks every single time, with the exception there of the 21 of Bart Feuerstein. I think he's been the only car that we've seen out of any inconsistencies out of. Everybody else has been hitting their marks lap after lap, and that extends here to Stefan Schlocker. First lap, a 40.355. Second lap, a 40.290. Last lap, a 40.350. So a little bit quicker lap 2, a little bit slower lap 3. Where does he go lap 4?
Out of turn 4 now, across the line, checkered flag for Stefan Schlocker and the number 89. And he is going to lay down a 40.292, which is pretty much dead on with his best lap.
Yep.
And correction, we're qualifying 25 through 33 today. So I think we were off by a couple in terms of what number we were qualifying for. So 25th through 33rd. So that's where Egan would be right now, is P25. Top 24 was what qualified last week. Next driver on track, Tristan Hauser in the number the number 56 begins his run. Nice livery on this car.
Ooh, that it is. I like of course, red, white, and blue always hits home to us, but it does look quite nice. The 56 car working around turn number 2 now. Get the yellow accents, yellow highlights there. That really is a well-balanced livery, I think. It looks pretty quick, moving down the back straightaway pretty nicely. 228, 229, does he hit 230? He does. 231, not quite. Looks like he gets into the corner first.
So, quick update on the times. It appears that my hastily put together script this morning to qualify the 4-lap average, in terms of the order, it's generally correct. The only change being Feuerstein did not record a lap as Hauser goes third quick at 40.075. That is a pretty solid first lap.
Yeah, the times have been so consistent rather, that it's pretty much negating any difference as far as fastest lap times. Everybody's pretty much bang on as far as their fastest time correlating to their average time. Unfortunately, as far as the display goes, I've noticed that it's picking up their last lap rolling back to the pit lane, because of course some of these guys have to cross the start-finish line to get back to their pit box.
Yep.
It's registering that as a time, and that's why you see a 45 for Egan and a 45 for Kinder, and so on and so forth. But regardless, here comes Tristan Hauser across the line. Lap 1 was good for third as far as just lap goes, lap speed. Lap 2 slows down by just 2/100ths of a second, from an 0.75 to an 0.95. Again, the consistency is insane.
Amazingly consistent, now weaving to get away from that back straightaway wall. And there's definitely a sweet spot between pulling away from the wall for the aerodynamic reason and making the back straightaway longer, because you're taking that arc to get away from it. But it doesn't appear to be hurting anybody. They're all sort of still doing it to some extent. Out of turn 4 and onto the front straightaway again to begin the final lap of Tristan's qualifying run. This time through a 40.040, his fastest so far. Yes.
So again, bang on, right with the averages, lowers it a little bit, going to help himself out. That is going to hold him currently looking for third. Currently looking at third on the time chart so far today, in front of Kinder, behind Egan and Petconin. But I think he can easily get to Petconin if he drops into the 39s here. We'll see.
Coming back to the checkered flag. Number 56 through 3 and 4, 221 miles an hour mid-speed in the last corner. Here he comes across the line, checkered flag for Hauser's number 56, and 39.991. That's good enough to jump him to second on the quickest laps today chart. But where's it going to put him in the averages, Andrew?
As far as the averages, he's going to log a 40.0498, which is going to put him behind. No, still behind Petconin.
Yes.
In front of Rossman. So yeah, third, that one. You know, you happened to catch me as I was looking over the YouTube chat and looking through our chat. I do see some guys getting talking. I see Velocity Online Racing up there, of course, VOR. I'm familiar with that moniker. Seeing some guys out there in YouTube chat. Believe me, keep chatting it up. We'll interact with you guys. We'll talk to you guys. Here's Paul Velasco. Now, it's not quite Velocity, but the last name makes me think of Velocity almost. Like
Paul Velocity.
Yeah, it kind of, he could consider that as like a Twitch name, potentially.
That'd be a great idea. Across the line, 40.523. That is the slowest first lap that we've seen so far, however. So we'll see if he can pick up the Velascity here in the last couple laps.
Velascity in the last couple laps?
Another great livery on this car. Got the kind of circuit board backdrop. Very nice.
NASCAR wouldn't like it, but I like the asymmetry there.
I do too. I think asymmetry is a neat concept that doesn't always pan out, but I think in certain circumstances it can look really good, and Velasco's done just that. Have a look at his helmet too. Got a good custom helmet on. Gets the curb in turn 4 rather.
Didn't hurt him.
That's a dangerous thing, but you're right. I don't think it hurt him very much.
It might have scrubbed maybe a mile an hour potentially out of the corner. So maybe it's not a net gain. And he does need to bump down there in turn 1. You got to be careful of that. But I don't think it really hurt him that much in turn 4. The time across the line ends up being a 4.6. So it's faster than his first lap. I don't think it hurt him, interestingly enough. Now, I do want to say, to comment more on the livery, usually when you use an iRacing stock number, it doesn't look so great with the spec map. In this case, it honestly ends up working out. I don't know if we can take the onboard from the roll bar. It looks good. You see how it works out? It actually works with the iRacing default number. I kind of like that. Also, if he wants to go to the next level with this paint, he needs a helmet done the same way.
Sure does. Can you do a spec map on a helmet yet? That needs
I don't
to
know
be
about a spec map, but at least half red, half silver would be, oh man.
That would be a good look for sure. Into turn 2 now on the last lap for Velasco. His previous lap was a 40.492, so doesn't quite have the single speed pace that we'd expect, and he's backing it down now and heading back in to the pit lane a lap early here.
A couple of drivers already requesting new runs. I'd imagine Paul will be one of them, but Stefan Schlocker also requesting another run. Of course, the number 21 car of Bart Feuerstein, who crashed. Yeah, he'll want another crack at things. But so it looks like potentially 3 cars at least going to take an extra run later on, if not more. This is now Mike Granby, the number 12 car. A lot more blue on this, but I like the red, white, and blue theme.
Looks really good. Through 3 and 4 for his first lap now. And exiting onto the front straightaway across the line. Again, first lap has been the determining factor so far. What will Granby run down? A 39.841, and that would be top of the board of the fastest laps that we've seen today. This is going to be a rocket ship run, I can tell already.
Yeah, he's really, really quick. He's already 227 into turn 2, so he's keeping the speed up. A little bit slow out of the second corner that time, but I'd imagine that it's going to rocket right back up. So maybe struggling in the corner, but he's making up for it on the straightaways. 230, 231. Hitting 231, almost 232 by the time he turned into turn 3. So he is up there. He is moving.
That's the fastest we've seen today, tied with, I think, Egan's fastest speed was a 231 on the back straightaway. Now across the line for lap number 2. Will it be any quicker? A 39.841 previously, 39.868, just a hair slower, but still the fastest so far.
Hey, Kyle. Do you recall Mark Martin at Bristol? He was going to win that Grand National race?
Yep.
Came in 1 lap too soon.
Is that what Velasco just did?
That's what Velasco did. He just chimed in on the iRacing text chat saying, can't count.
Oh, that is
That's
brutal.
unfortunate.
Yeah.
But you know what? If he does end up taking that idea for Paul Velocity or something of the sort and make that into a Twitch name, and he starts to count up his Twitch earnings, I just want a part of the royalties. I just want to put that out there.
Yeah, you should put it out there because that's a pretty darn good idea. All right, white flag for Mike Grandy. One more time around for him, and a 39.813. That was this fastest so far. He is flying right now in this number 12.
Yeah, this 12 car is top of boards in every way, shape, and form so far. Already trending quicker than Egan by almost, over a tenth. He's trending at a 39.84. Egan went to a 39.94. So he's got a tenth and a half right now. Sorry. Yes. English. I don't know. He's got a tenth. That's my point.
Checkered flag for Mike Grandy in the air out of turn number 4. Again, qualifying for 25th spot, but he is going to be the quickest of the group so far, pending this last lap. And all 4 of his laps were under 40 seconds, 39.968 for his last lap. That will put him top of the board for now in bump day qualifying.
So a little slower, but it's not going to do much as far as hurting the average. Keeps it at least faster than Egan. I wonder if maybe potentially Adam Blocker can take a shot at things. We'll see what he can do. I do want to quickly compare that Grandy time at 39.87 to the times that were set earlier on last week. It's faster than a lot of them. I don't see many times that would hang. I see one from LaVille in the number 1 car. I see one from Shoemaker that would have been faster. I mean, that is one of the best times of qualifying so far for this classic IndyCar Indianapolis 500. There are not many runs that are quicker than what we just saw from Paul Grandy. Mike Grandy.
And Adam Blocker, of course, we've seen him in other IndyCar series, has a lot of open wheel experience as a champion in a couple of those series as well. So we know he's going to be fast. 39.738 across the line.
No surprise that he's quick. Top of the speed charts, he's likely going to trend, if not purple, right on purple on the second lap. He's already trending purple at a turn 2, maybe not. Back to the green. I mean, he is dead even right now. Bang on to those lap times. And again, this is going to trend better than most of the times that we saw a week ago. I mean, this is a really, really good couple of lap times from Mike Grandy, now Adam Blocker. Some of the best that we've seen so far.
So now we have to start looking at that cut line now. Again, qualifying 25th through 33rd. So everyone behind Schlocker in the danger zone right now. Rossman and Velasco. Blocker comes across the line, runs a 39.696, picks up even more.
So Mike Grandy would have gotten 3rd in Fast 9 times, which is the best out of everybody back from a week ago. Adam Blocker right here would have just gotten 2nd. That's crazy.
Very, very fast. Blocker continues to run incredible times. Again, his rolling average 39.717 of the 2 laps that he has completed so far. This will be his 3rd lap complete, coming to the white for Adam Blocker. We go even quicker still. 39.738, no, goes the other direction, and will increase the average just a bit. 39.724, the average of his first 3 laps as he enters his final 2.5-mile circuit.
So again, it seems like there's no warm-up period on that first lap. It's a matter of just getting right to those lap times. These guys are just consistent out of the gate. There might be a slight decrease on lap 2. Maybe it holds there. Maybe that's where it plateaus. Or I guess in this case, floors off for the valley, if you will. But it really seems like, for the most part, these guys hit a number that first lap and don't leave that number for the next 3 laps. Or at least don't leave it by much. Here we go. We'll finish up lap number 4 for Adam Blocker, the 11th run of the day. And the average goes from a 39.7233. Love the precision on this sheet, by the way. Does it go up? Well, that lap time was a 39.742. So a little bit slower. In fact, that was his slowest time yet. But the average shouldn't hurt by much.
39.728 is what I'm showing as an average on the unofficial timing and scoring, which is what you're looking at here. Here's Bart Feuerstein back on track for a 2nd run, this time hoping to get a actual time in the books instead of having the issue like he did at the exit of turn 2 on his final lap. We'll give it a go.
Again, one of those virtual Velocity Online Racing. There we go. Velocity Online Racing machines. I see V in online racing, and immediately my brain goes virtual. I got to think when I see VOR, velocity, not virtual.
Cross the line for Bart Feuerstein, 40.246. And now we'll see as his average begins to roll again. if he'll pick up any more time. Remember, he did not have an official time on the board because of that accident previously.
I do want to note, these guys ran 11 cars in about a half hour. That's quite impressive. There were, yes, Feuerstein's first run was a lap shy. Velasco's run was a lap shy. But the fact that they ran 11 cars in a half hour is pretty impressive. So hats off. A tip of the cap here to Classic IndyCar Series. Across the line goes Bart one more time. 230 into the corner. He seems to have picked up a little bit, at least as far as raw speed into the corner. Those runs, yeah, he's faster by a tenth. Yeah, he's a tenth up on his previous time.
Yeah, he's picking up some time for sure. And you're right, this has been a very well-organized event so far. Haven't had any downtime to speak of, but Feuerstein now on the back straightaway. 229 peak speed. We've seen up to 232 with Adam Blocker, so he's a little bit off of the fastest cars here today. But again, I do think that the stability that Feuerstein has in the corner might be a bit more than what some of the quicker guys have had. His third lap now across the line, 40.235. That was his best that he's run.
And this was the lap previously where he made a mistake in a turn 2, entered a little bit too low, and ultimately crashed in the second corner. This time, a much better entry, a little higher. Has to turn in a little bit more, maybe use the right front a little more, but it saves the car, obviously, from crashing like he did earlier. This will go down to turns 3 and 4. I just like this run so much better for Bart Feuerstein, obviously, because he's not in the wall, but it just looks much more stable, looks much more calculated. He's taking the right line into these corners. Everything looks better. I don't see a single struggle for Bart right here. Across the line he'll go. He's already trending pretty solid, I think, at the top half so far. We'll see how it does across the line. And he goes. He moves up in just the overall speed chart. That's his fastest time so far. And that goes to a 40.2335.
So Feuerstein, 40.234 average. Solid lap for him. Now Stefan Schlocker back out on track, going for a second run as well.
And that means that fast lap for Bart was a 40.188. We'll see what Stefan can do. He's also looking to improve because his times earlier just were not as impressive as he would have liked. So number 89 will work around, and this should be his first timed lap of this run that we complete right here.
Stefan Schlocker out of turn 4 and across the line. Will he improve on his previous best of a 40.291? No, he will not. 40.327 with the first lap of a 4-lap run.
So a solid lap to open things up. 3.27. I think that's about mid-range so far. Not quick, not slow. Would like to pick it up, certainly, but obviously, as we've seen, these drivers, they seem to need to put a little more stability in these cars. They're not the same. They're a little bit different from what we see in modern Indy cars. Maybe if you get too used to running those cars here in Indianapolis, too used to that kind of qualifying, maybe some differences he has to work on. And, of course, it's an older car on the iRacing sim, and let's just be honest, iRacing has come such a long ways in the 10 years since this car was run, right? So I guess 10 plus years, man, it really has flown by. So in the decade plus since this car was on track, yeah, things have changed.
Yeah, and that was the Stefan Schlocker's quickest lap so far, a 40.266. And his rolling average now.
That matches Bart's second lap time.
Yeah, so he's picking it up for sure. And the reason why he needs to pick up here is because he's on the cut line here. If he doesn't improve, Andrew, I don't think he stands a lot of chance of moving forward.
Yeah, he already was towards the bottom. In fact, he was second slowest at first, negating Feuerstein's shunt into the turn 2 wall. He was second slowest, only faster than Rossman so far. Third lap, it's a 40.314. Trending in the wrong direction here.
Yeah, going the other way now. Had a good second lap, but lap 3 a little bit slower. We'll see if it's a AB or if it's ABCD on the last lap with it going slower and slower. But Stefan Schlocker through 3 and 4 on his final lap now of his second run. Checkered waving for Stefan Schlocker. Needs to improve his average lap pace across the line. This time through 40.294, pickup from lap 3, but he'll probably be a little bit disappointed in that overall run.
Comparing times, it is faster than his previous run, so he at least went quicker, but it's still only faster than Rossman. He really has gone nowhere. He needs another 3/100ths of a second average to pass Hibbs, and we thought initially that Hibbs was going to stand at a decent time overall, and that really has changed over the course of this qualifying.
So Paul Velasco going again. Second run for Paul.
And Paul's first run was the slowest that we'd seen. So I think he's okay with taking a do-over in this one, taking a mulligan.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think there's not really a lot that he can lose from doing this. And unlike the real world where if you crash your car, you're out of the Indy 500, you don't have that risk here. That was a big pickup in terms of his fastest time. That was by about 1/10 of a second. But is it going to be enough? He's still a little ways off of the drivers ahead of him in terms of average pace.
Yeah, I feel like you may as well go out there and put as little rear wing in the car as possible. Just trim the car out as far as you can that first run, open things up, trying to hit a high note. If you do, awesome. Otherwise, you can rely on the rest of the day to get the car right? I mean, that feels like what I would personally want to do, seeing how these guys have qualified so far. Obviously, hey, if you're on YouTube, let me know how wrong I am, because I've been known to be wrong before.
Across the line for Velasco. Second lap across, 40.334, a little bit more consistent, and he picks up and actually jumps Rossman in fastest lap. So that would put him 10th quickest overall in a single lap pace today.
Yeah, I mean, that's a 10th and a third thereabout, only 10th and a quarter better than he was trending previously. I mean, seriously, picking up a ton of time here. And you have to wonder, could that have just been fuel? Could that have been something so simple as just overloading the car with fuel for his first run? He isn't curving down there in turn 4. That's usually a no-no, but he gets away with it that time.
See what his last lap will look like. 40.369. Now on his final lap of his 4-lap run.
So the average trends the wrong way. Still a decent lap time comparatively, but he's got to get way quicker. I mean, he's got to drop down to a 40.0 here if he wants a chance of getting quick enough to move up the order, I think. Obviously, his first lap aborted, or I guess his first run aborted, invalid, does not actually go down as official, so not really going anywhere, I guess, doesn't have a base to improve upon, but we can see his previous lap times, and I mean, he has at least improved, but he's got to continue to improve. He's got to take another run, I think, and try and get up the board.
All right, 40.293. That makes his average of 40.346 on that run. That's not going to be good enough, I don't think.
No, but you know what? I'm just noticing there's little trends looking at the numbers, and I love looking at numbers, diagnosing things, whatever. Schlocker's second lap was equal to Bart Feuerstein's second lap, and now Paul Velasco's last lap was even to Schlocker's last lap. The consistency, again, is insane between these drivers. Here's Tristan Hauser going out for another run. You can see the air temp, 69 degrees in the air, 97 degrees on the track. The sun is baking down. That's generally how things work in Speedway, Indiana. It bakes pavement here in Indianapolis. You don't need many cars to get the track warmed up.
Well, I'm keeping an eye on this because the air temp is fairly constant. The track temp, though, is that going to change and potentially mix things up? It can get pretty toasty around here. So we'll see if that has an effect on anything. Hauser across the line for his first lap, a 39.898. That is a really quick lap. Puts him third fastest in the single laps so far today.
So Tristan going the right way here. Stefan Schlocker has requested a new run, and I like what you mentioned about the temperature. And we kind of hit on it a little bit earlier. We are going to get a little bit cooler, I think, as this day goes on. In sim right now, it's May 23rd, which is, I mean, dead of one of the hottest times of year, or at least getting to the summer and the hottest time of the year, and it's getting to about 5 o'clock p.m. in sim. So we've got a ways to go with sunlight, but that sun is going to get a little bit further down on the horizon, and it will start to get some more shadows over the speedway, and this pavement will start to cool, especially on turn 1. I think that's one of the biggest difference we made because of the canopy over those grandstands. We'll start to see some more shade over in that particular corner, and just in general, the shadows are going to get a little bit longer on the day, and we'll get kind of those golden orange tones.
Hauser's second lap was quicker than his first, a 39.882. See if he does the same again on his third lap. He'll be safely in to the Classic IndyCar Series Indy 500 next week if he continues to run at this pace.
He'll complete lap number 3 this time by. And does he go faster?
Not quite.
8.95 to, that wasn't 8.95. Okay, so, I mean, he's still bang on, though. It's just the consistency is blowing my mind. Usually, iRacers tend to be a little more inconsistent. I don't know what it is about it, but you don't usually see this kind of consistency out of a field. This is remarkable.
Very, very solid for Tristan Hauser's third lap now coming out of turn number 4. We'll see, again, Granby's average ahead of him. You can see a 39.873. That was not one of the laps affected by the pit-in lap time. So will Hauser be able to jump him this time through? 39.915, and that would put him as a 39.897. So if I'm correct, Andrew, that would be just shy of Granby's 39.873 average 4.
Yeah, that's quick. That's really quick. Hauser's first run of 40.049. This picks it up by, what, 0.2 thereabouts? 10.5, I suppose. That's getting right back up there into Fast 9 territory if he had qualified a week ago. I mean, that was a really, really good run from Tristan. Now, Stefan Rossman rejoins the fight, gets back out there for another run, and this is a run that you have to make if you're in his position. The first run was dismal.
So Rossman into turn 3 on his first lap. Yeah, the previous run was not very good. So he's going to give it another go here and see if he can pick it up any time. His previous best lap was a 40.342. That's 0.7 of a second slower than Adam Blocker's best lap so far this event. His first lap, pretty sizable pickup, 40.3, well, a couple hundredths of a second. Not as big as I originally thought, but we'll see if he can kind of notch up a little bit quicker on the second and third lap.
He's at least trending in the right direction, and there's still a lot of time to go out there and make more runs throughout the day, some more time to find some speed. He was sitting, or he is currently trying to get, I guess, above the cut line. Another driver that's requested another run is Hibbs, Gavin Hibbs, who sits the second driver currently in. Schlocker's on the cut line, Hibbs is just in front. So I think that's important for Hibbs to go back out there and take another crack at things, try and get in front of Bart Feuerstein, potentially from Sebastian Kinder. Second lap for Rossman, it's a 40.349, so 3.50 when it gets rounded up.
Yeah, that was a little slower than his first lap, so I think that he'll trend in not quite the direction he was hoping for, but he's going to have to find some more speed on a third run and take a big swing at it, Andrew, because this is not working. Whatever he's got going on in the car is not going to do him favors trying to get into this Indy 500 next Sunday. He's going to have to take a big swing at it. But what can you do? I mean, you've, in theory, scienced it out to as much as you know how to do. So if you've got teammates, this is the time to knock on their door, but otherwise, you're in trouble.
Yeah, so much of it comes down to your aero trim, but there are small things that you could do. Just as far as putting a little more camber into the front wheels, of course, this is qualifying. You don't need them to last over the course of a run, so you can be a little more aggressive on the cambers, but also how much more aggressive. You don't want to just use the insides of the tires, right? Obviously, you want to trim fuel down as far as you can, but you also want to make sure you have enough fuel to get to the finish line. So how do you conserve fuel on that out lap? There's small little things that can just get you that extra tenth potentially. Is that what's playing? I don't know. But those are the little things that can at least help him trend the right direction and make sure that he's doing all of those things right. That really come down to the driver as his fourth lap is completed here. Is a 40.315. So a little south of his best lap, but still not bad comparatively. It's just not great compared to the rest of the field. Ends up, right now, he is out. Yeah. First car out, but out.
Not looking good. Here comes Schlocker, currently on the cut line, trying to move his way forward. Said he was making too many mistakes. So he doesn't think it's down to the setup. He thinks it's down to him as a driver. And that eases your mind a little bit, Andrew, because at least you know that you don't have to go back to the garage and take big swings at it. At least you know that it's just something that you're doing as a driver, which is a little easier to do sometimes than to try to science out the math on why your dampers aren't doing the right thing.
Yeah, I mean, those are really fine-tuned adjustments at this point. You're looking at one click this way or that, potentially, or just help the car bite in one particular way so that you can take a little more aero out of it. If you can get the car to just stick to the track mechanically, that means you can take the aerodynamic grip out. You can dial back on the wing, and that's where you find speed in these Indy qualifying runs. You've got to get the car to stick to the track as best as you can mechanically. The rubber meeting the road and the suspension taking those hits so that you can take all the wing out of it that you possibly can. And, of course, well, go fast. That's the point of this. So I am noticing he's one of the few drivers that I've seen up into 6th gear. So the gear stack is going to do a lot for you as well. There are so many things that have to come together just right for a good Indy run. He's one of the few cars that I've seen, one of the few drivers that I've seen popping into 6th, so he's got the gear stack working a particular way for him.
Well, first lap wasn't as fast as he was hoping for. Second lap was a 40.268, which is 2,000ths short of his fastest today. So I do think that Schlocker is knocking on the door of improving, but I'm not sure we're quite there yet. This is lap 3.
Interestingly enough, Tristan Hauser has requested another run along with Stefan Rossman. I expected that from Stefan Rossman, not so much from Tristan Hauser. This will be lap number 3, though, for Stefan Schlocker. And he'll go out of turn number 4, past the pit wall and down to the start-finish line one more time. Waits a little bit longer on 6th gear that time. Just the little intricacies of the way these drivers run their qualifying runs are so interesting to me. Down to turn 1 he'll go. That lap of 40.248. His best lap so far.
Will it be enough to improve his overall average? Again, as it stands, the driver ahead of him is only a couple thousandths of a second ahead, so you'd think it wouldn't take a huge swing to get there, but I think Schlocker is going to need a bigger swing to feel safe.
Oh yeah, you're going to have to move further north than this. This is still slower than Gavin Hibbs. This is still right on that cut line. First car in. You've got to at least get one car of cushion. At least. Across the line, he'll go. It's a 2.97. That's going to hurt his average a little bit. It should stay faster than Rossman, but Rossman's going to go for another run here shortly.
I did not get a last lap recorded for Schlocker. I wonder if he got into the wall. See, no time recorded and no last lap recorded.
You are onto something there, yeah. Lap is listed as aborted. He must have hit the wall somewhere. Where did he hit it?
Regardless, that time was going to be invalidated as Gavin Hibbs starts his second 4-lap run. All it takes is a little tap just to get very, very close to it. You don't need to knock it down to get that lap invalidated.
I'm looking for a wall contact, and I don't see one.
It could also be an internet discontinuity, even if only for a split second.
I'm thinking it's more along those lines. He didn't see him going to the grass, I don't think. I mean, it's like he got an off track. That would be so...
Gavin Hibbs, 40.157. That's a pickup in his best lap. That jumps him ahead of Feuerstein's best.
For context, Hibbs' previous average is a 2.65. So for his fastest lap on this run already to be a 1.57, that's picking up a 10th and then some. That's pretty big for Gavin Hibbs. Moving up the order here in qualifying. Bump day qualifying, that is. Schlocker requests another run. Not surprised there.
Yeah, hearing that it was contact at the exit of turn 1 that got him. Just the slightest bit. Gavin Hibbs' second lap across the line is an improvement. It is a 40.124. That's going to jump him up ahead of Sebastian Kinder in terms of overall single lap speed. Wow. So Hibbs is definitely showing up to party on his second run, and I'm not sure that he'll feel safe yet with a lot of drivers still left to go, but it'll make him feel better.
I mean, he's going to have 4 drivers back. You're right. He is faster than Kinder on single lap speed and 4 lap speed. I mean, this is a solid run right here that we're watching from Gavin Hibbs, and this is exactly what he needed to do. He was at a 2.65 before. Now he's trending for a 1.4, a 40.14. That's a big difference. As if he goes any faster here across the line, it's a 1.12. 40.112. It's still trending that same direction. And this is what you need to do in a qualifying run.
Faster still. Will he go even quicker on his final lap? His average is going to be a lot better than his previous, and it might jump him ahead of Sebastian Kinder, I would bet.
The line through 3 looks really good. Minute movements on the steering wheel. Looks like the car is really free. The way it's settled out of the banking in 3, it looks free. Same thing out of 4. It's turning on a dime right now. He is utilizing the full gear stack up into 6. He's going to complete lap number 4 of this run, and it's a 40.159. Slightly slower, but the average is not going to care. It's going to stay about a 40.14, and that's good enough for 6th of the cars that have qualified so far today.
Yeah, that's a really solid run for Gavin Hibbs. Next driver on the track, Tristan Hauser back out for, looks like, a third run. So he's already a couple corners into it.
And this request for another run really surprised me. I'm really surprised by this. Obviously, he wants to flex his muscle, go a bit faster. He feels like he can at least beat Mike Granby out of the time, if not Adam Blocker as well. But this really surprises me out of Tristan Hauser. He already improved to third on the speed charts. I'm here for it, but I'm just surprised.
I'm a bit surprised about it as well. Wasn't fully expecting him to go back out, but that time through 39.891. That was just about 100th of a second shy of his best lap. So already starting very, very close to his best. So I think he's in a good position to improve. But did he need to? That's the ultimate question. I mean, you're putting yourself in position to have a better starting position next Sunday, but also I'm not really sure.
Or crash.
Oh, that was a wall touch there, I think, entering 3.
The rest of the corner looks okay. Yeah, he might have gotten it. We'll see what happens across the line here if he registers a time. If he does, the good news is his first lap was 7/100ths of a second quicker than his previous first lap across the line.
Yeah,
it returns a time.
Counts.
8:53. And that's still faster. That's his best lap so far. So, hey, maybe it was worth it.
I mean, yeah, it looked like he had just had a bit of tire contact there, but it didn't actually register the contact. Therefore, he gets to keep the lap, and this is panning to be very good for him here.
He's going to move up one spot if everything holds. He's trending at an 87.10, 8.71, I should say. 8.71, which is better than Grandy's 8.72.
No,
he's aborted.
Yep.
He's done. Didn't like it.
Backing it down, didn't like that at all. So Hauser will roll down to a stop and head back to the pit lane. So with a brief lapse here.
You know what he didn't like?
What's that?
He hit the wall at a 3.
Ah, okay. So that's what did it. So there's a very brief lapse in the action while Stefan Schlocker does a warm-up lap here. Quick update on your running order as it stands. It's Blocker, Grandy, Hauser, Egan, Petconin, Kinder, Hibbs, Feuerstein, and Rossman your top 10. And Velasco and Schlocker are the drivers on the outside looking in. Or is that correct? Am I looking at the right thing?
That sounded right. To reiterate, Blocker currently fastest of the runs today. Blocker then Grandy. Hauser was third quick, but the risk you take is invalidating that run. And, well, that's exactly what he did. He's now out and has to do it all over again. So Egan moves up into third quick so far, but Cannon fourth. He's the first one out of the 39s. The top 3 are all in the 39s. 39.7 for Blocker, 39.8 for Grandy, 39.9 for Egan. 40.0 for Petconin, a 40.151 for Kinder, a 40.159 for Hibbs. Then Feuerstein comes in at a 40.2, Rossman at a 40.3, and Velasco just behind. In fact, just 2/100ths of a second back of Rossman. And now those guys are all in because Hauser and Schlocker both have aborted or invalidated lap times, qualifying runs. So Schlocker going to take another crack at things. This is his 4th run, I believe.
That looks about right. Completes his first lap of this run, and what does it put him down as? A 40.268, about 200 shy of his best lap. So what we're going to see, Andrew, is I think we're going to see later in this session, drivers are going to start to hit that proverbial wall where they just can't seem to find any more pace. And I'm just wondering if Schlocker is getting to that point. He was quicker on his previous run before that wall contact, but just not sure that he's got a whole lot more left in the car.
The track tip has dropped 4 degrees. This is important. Winds are holding steady out of the northwest, 2 miles an hour, but track temp has dropped from a 97 to a 93. That's big. That's going to help Schlocker out on this run, and that's what these drivers are looking for as this day goes on, to hope that we get into more of the evening time of day, evening hours, if we try and cool off a little bit. Humidity is holding steady as well. That shouldn't change much. That last lap time of 40.224, his best on the day.
Heard him lift in the middle of turn 1, though. I don't think he was confident in how much speed he was carrying. But you're right about the weather. That is going to be a factor that I wasn't really expecting to have a huge impact today, but it is dropping. I thought it was going to get hotter throughout the event, but it's actually getting cooler. So, as you mentioned, that is going to affect things quite a bit. So, Schlocker now coming out of turn 4 to begin his 3rd lap.
That lift may have only been the gear change. I just went back and watched it. I think that was only the gear change down to 5th. And sometimes that can be all you need to help the car rotate. I don't know the science behind that exactly, but sometimes that gear change just helps the car rotate in a certain way, and it's hard to get that from the car mechanically. until you use the gear shift. A little bit it's a little bit slower on that run. So hurting the average ever so slightly by 12 one-thousandths of a second, in fact. It's not a bad run, all things considered, but it just needs to keep getting faster.
So Schlocker coming back to the checkers on his 4th run of the day. And will it be an overall improvement? This time through a 40.212. That's his fastest lap. And an average of 40.235 over the course of those 4 laps. Where does that put him, Andrew?
Waiting on the average from the official timing, and that's a 2:34. So that puts him just behind Feuerstein. So he's in right now, but only with 1 position to spare. What I find so interesting is if these guys have been able to run these lap times, I don't see Schlocker in the order from last week's first day of qualifying. But if he had been able to run, he would be in, well in. I mean, he would be sitting with 8 positions to spare, somewhere in the middle of the drivers that advanced, not in the Fast 9, but in that next group of drivers from 10th on down through, 23rd?
Tristan Hauser back on track again for another run, utilizing the multiple run option quite a bit. I'm a little bit surprised to see him continue to run here.
Well, now he needs to.
Oh, you're right, because he messed up the previous one.
Yep. So, and that's the risk you take with going back out there.
I just don't think it was a risk worth taking at that point.
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think if you want to keep working on the car to get it faster, that's one thing. But to give up such a great average, such a great qualifying run is a little bit interesting. It could pay off, but it obviously could put him right back into the position that he's in. And even if the setup is the exact same as his second run that was so fast, or even his third one that was trending faster, all it comes down to is the smallest of... Oh, well, I was going to continue on with my thought, and I saw the 39.7 come over. That's fast. Fair enough.
He's picking up, and that was just a 10th shy of Adam Blocker's best lap. And one of the things you might wonder is, you might be figuring, if the weather is going to continue to get cooler, you might as well go back out, because as long as you don't make any significant mistakes, you're going to go faster, you would think.
But you are betting on yourself as a driver that you aren't going to make those mistakes. And if you do, well, guess what? You only have you to blame. So, I mean, hey, if you're okay with that, and clearly Tristan is, then by all means, go for it. That lap, does it go faster? A 7.52? Yeah. I mean, he is trending right where he needs to. This is a good run.
It is a really good run. And we'll see if lap number 4 will be any better for him. Lap
he
2
should,
or 3.
He should at least take second. This will be lap 4. First lap was at an 86, so first lap was a bit slow, but since then he has picked things up. So he might have gotten out there to a little bit of a quicker start than we expected after Schlocker's run, but this is going to be a really good run. It's trending at a 79, just barely under a 39.8.
79, there it is.
There we go. So just nails down the average. That's going to be faster than Granby, so it's good for second of the day, but that's still in the 20s as far as when they line up on Sunday.
Yep, so second fastest, 39.797, the average on the unofficial timing here, as Stefan Rossman's back out again. We'll see if he can go quicker. This has been a struggle for him today. We'll see if he can knock that time down a bit more. His best lap time at 40.299, which is the slowest of anybody today, but lap 1 is usually the telling one, Andrew. That's where we see around where their pace will end up.
And he needs to go back out. He's currently on the out. Schlocker is now in, Rossman out, and it's almost a 10th between the two. Velasco is also currently out. His run, not at all impressive. I hate to say it about Paul Velasco, but he's going to have to go back out there and make a better run. Rossman with him. Across the line to complete lap number 1, Rossman goes a 40.311. I guess it was lap number 2, my bad. It's still not what he needs to do. He needs to go a lot faster.
Yeah, not exactly what he was hoping for. That's been sort of the trend of the day for Rossman, but giving it all he's got here and hoping that he'll trend in the positive direction once things cool off even more, which seems like they will continue to do based on the fact that we've had the track temp drop so much. But it's not a guarantee that it'll do that. Perhaps it was just cloud cover also that was a factor there.
But it has stayed at 93 degrees. It has stayed there. It hasn't gone back up. It could have been an errant cloud just cooling things off, but it also could be the time of day. Don't know. I don't think it's going to get too much cooler, maybe down to about 90 degrees on the track because, oh, that's the wall.
Oh, yep, trouble.
That one's done.
And a crash for Rossman. Man.
So, Kyle, of course, we've got the program feed that we're going off of, but I've also got my iRacing feed, and I've just been watching the cockpits from these drivers. And as soon as he's set for turn one, something just wasn't right. There is one little micro movement in the center of turn one that you can see from the cockpit. One small micro movement at the center of the corner. Watch this. He just straightens the wheel so slightly, and that micro movement really does him in. I think it was already just charging the corner a little bit, but especially once that little micro movement was made, his corner was doomed.
Yeah, that was not the micro movement, as you called it. You could see that just that unwinding of the wheel for a split second is all it takes to wreck a qualifying run. So Gavin Hibbs will be the next driver on track. And green flag back out in the air now here at the Indianapolis 500 qualifying for the Classic IndyCar Series. This time it's Gavin Hibbs in the 95. This would be his third run of the day.
Hibbs down to turn one. We'll see, hopefully, him trend in the right direction. The car's been good, I feel like. It's looked good so far, and I don't just mean the livery. But he definitely needs to move up the order, I think, at least in front of Kinder. These two were so close. I believe there's a 1.5 and a 1.8. No, 1.5 and a 1.4 for him, as far as the average lap times. I mean, they were so close, but yeah, he's got to move up a little bit.
Hearing that Velasco is done for the day, which is an unfortunate way to end his bid at Classic IndyCar Series Indy 500. Hibbs across the line, 40.065. It's a pretty solid lap time. That's his best that he's run. Still sixth fastest on the single lap time board. See how it factors into a 4-lap average.
I can't argue with Stefan's reason for not being here last week to get himself into the 500. You see that in YouTube chat? He was at the Nürburgring. I can't argue with that.
That's a pretty hard one to argue. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I probably would have gone to the Nürburgring too, but then you risk getting yourself kicked out of next week's Classic IndyCar Series Indy 500. But when the opportunity is to go to the Green Hell in real life, I think you choose the Green Hell every time. Faster still, Hibbs, 40.017.
This is a quick run, right out of 40.0. And if this holds, this is faster than Kinder, right about with Petconin. In fact, he needs about a half a tenth. A half a tenth right now to be right there with Petconin.
So this is lap number 3. Coming back to the white flag.
But the good news is here, Kyle, he's already picked up a tenth.
Right. We'll see if he can keep that trend rolling. This time through 40.023. Very, very consistent, very fast laps. I like what we're seeing out of this car right now. I think
he only needs a third of a tenth. I mean, that was a good last lap.
It was. See Petconin's average of 40.006. Feel pretty confident that Hibbs will be able to hit that and go quicker than that.
I think the only drivers in question are Feuerstein on back there. Feuerstein, Schlocker, Velasco, Hibbs in that spot. I think if you're Kinder and above, you're likely in this, especially with Velasco reportedly being done for the day. It's not feel like he can go anywhere else on the speed charts. That really only leaves one more spot to play with, unless any other drivers get out here. There are several drivers, if you look on the ticker, that are here. I have to verify if they have already qualified into the race or not, but they are at least here, and I don't see them on the list. So I'm wondering if any of these guys are going to take a run or not.
Hibbs goes faster than Petconin, at least in terms of single lap pace. 39.994 was his best that he just ran on his final lap of that run as we go back to Stefan Rossman's 4th run. And for Hibbs, I don't think it's quite good enough to beat Petconin.
No, not quite.
But
it's close. It's down to a quarter of a tenth. We're talking about quarters of tenths. So 2.5 100ths of a second, guys. That's how close these guys are.
Very, very tight. Rossman across the line. First lap in this run. 40.465. running a higher line, a much higher line on the racetrack. That's really high out of turn 2, but continuing, again, he's forced into this now because of the crash that he just had a couple of laps ago, so he's got to get at least a clean 4-lap run in here at some point.
And the time he's looking for is Schlocker at a 40.2345. And Feuerstein and Schlocker are so close, they're separated by just 1/100th of a second right now as far as average lap times. It's a 2.335 for Feuerstein, a 2.345 for Schlocker. If he can get there, if Rossman can get there for an average lap time, he's in right now, but he's not going to get there on this run. I just don't see it happening. A 4.64 and a 4.63 is not enough.
No, and now to knock off 3 or 4 tenths of a second in the last 2 laps is just not going to happen, unfortunately.
No, he'd have to drop down to 40 flats, if not 39s.
Yep. So he's going to give it all he's got, but looking like the door is closing on the opportunity to run in next Sunday's race on Race Spot TV.
Hauser is requesting another run. My goodness, this man.
He feels confident, and again, looking at the day and how it's gone so far, almost everybody has picked up time, and have a look. Track temperature continues to drop, albeit by only a degree this time, but Hauser thinks he can take advantage of that.
I wonder if he was sitting there waiting on it to tick over in the sim, waiting for it to go from 93 to 92. As soon as it did, he had that macro ready and hit it. Wants to go for another run. He's ready. I mean, I can't argue with it necessarily. He has trended faster each and every run. It's a matter of the one that he hit the wall that really ruined things for him. I guess a bit of a derailment on his day, but got right back on it.
Checkered flag for Rossman, picks up a 10th, but just not going to be that lap 3 or lap 4. I think I hit checkered too early.
That was lap 4. Lap 4. So the average is a 40.41, which is still the slowest of all. It's really unfortunate for Rossman. I really would like to see him go faster. And even his first run, his opening run, was faster.
Yeah, it's not going the right way for Rossman, that's for sure. Tristan Hauser will be the next car on the racetrack. So a quick rundown of how things are going. It looks like Blocker, Hauser, Granby, Egan, Petconin, Hibbs, Kinder, Feuerstein, Schlocker, Velasco, and Rossman are your group right now. So if everyone from Schlocker on down is out, so that means Rossman and Velasco are not going to make it as it stands into next week's Indy 500.
And reportedly, those other drivers populating the ticker will not be running today.
I think he meant including Velasco also. So ran times and not supposed to be. All right, Hauser's on the racetrack. Green flies for Hauser's. Is this his 4th attempt now? I think it's on attempt number 4.
This would be attempt number 4 for Tristan Hauser, the 56 car, taking another crack at things. What I do love about this kind of qualifying, being able to watch, because of course, so many series run qualifying where drivers all qualify at the same time. It's only 5 minutes to run a couple of laps, or even 8 minutes for a road course, whatever. Qualifying is done in an instant, right? There's really not any time to talk about things. But what I like about this so much is we can sit back and watch these drivers perfect their craft. Just listening to the cars, listen to it. That's just so nice.
Especially when they come screaming by the camera at 230 miles an hour. Hauser's first lap this run, a 39.766. Not his best, but pretty darn close to it. I agree with you. I think having some time to digest qualifying a little bit and put the focus on the drivers is a luxury we don't normally get to do. Normally it's just a quick recap of what happened instead of getting a moment to talk about the driver specifically and watch their lap specifically.
Yeah, usually it's play-by-play, and everybody feels like they've got to talk every moment of the day. This is where you can take a pause, think about something, you can just relax, at least from a commentary perspective. But the lap time that Hauser just put down, relaxation out the window. It's only 3/100ths of a second off of Blocker's fastest time. He's getting quicker. He's finding speed, and if you go over to the track temp, it's down another degree, down to 91. It's trending the right way for Tristan Hauser.
There's still 45 minutes left in this session, too, so he'll probably request it until there's no opportunity left to gain. But out of turn 4 now, to start his final lap. Is it a pickup again? 39.684. Yes, it was, and that was the fastest lap we've seen today. A 39.685 by Tristan Hauser, and a bit of a bobble at the exit of turn 1. He is flying.
This will be a challenge at not the pole, but the best time of the day, the best qualifying run. The best qualifying run of the day so far was Adam Blocker at a 39.7278, down to the 4th decimal there. 7.278. Right now, Hauser has got it. He's at a 7.250. Will he go faster? Will he at least hold the average where it is? At a turn number 4, past all the screaming fans, down to the start-finish line. The last lap there is a 39.748. That is going to hurt the average ever so slightly. Does it hold quicker than Blocker? It's going to go to a...
I have a
7.308.
Yeah, I have a 7.31 with the rounding, so wow, that is tight stuff just off of Blocker, but that is extremely tight.
3 1/1000ths of a second, I believe.
Yeah, that
3 1/1000ths of a second average lap time.
That is pretty phenomenal. How about this? Stefan Schlocker back out again.
Kinder has also requested another run. So Kinder, I think, is also taking notice of the track temp.
I think a lot of people will, and they might have been waiting to the end of the session to get another opportunity.
Blocker and Andy go back out? Do you think?
I don't think so. I don't think that you'll. I mean, the risk associated. There's not a lot to gain for Blocker, right? I mean, you're going to start on the same row regardless.
Probability would dictate that one of the two goes out. It's either you do or you don't, right? And there's two of them, 50-50. Probability would dictate that at least one goes out. But I mean, if it was me, I wouldn't. You're going to be starting so deep in the field anyways. These guys are battling for the last 4 or 5 rows. There's not much to be gained from going back out, especially if you crash and you have to put yourself back to where you have to qualify. I don't see a whole lot of reason to go and risk that lap time where you're in by so much, unless you start to see these guys go and set more 8s and 7s. If we see more 8s and 7s, that's one thing, but with Schlocker running a 2.50 right there, and this average sitting right around a 2.6, I don't think there's a whole lot of reason right now for Adam Blocker or Mike Grandy to go back out.
No, I agree with that. I think they're probably going to stick it out, but Kinder wants to go back out, maybe because he's concerned about Schlocker or one of the other drivers, Feuerstein, going back out to run another lap. That could bump him down to the cut line, in which case that would leave him vulnerable.
And I think he's in a position to do that. I think that makes sense if you're Kinder. He's got a couple of tenths, but all you need is the right gust of wind and a couple more degrees cooler, and I think you're suddenly in jeopardy. Yeah,
and that wind has only been about 1 to 2 miles an hour, but with these cars being so light, that could really factor in. And also west versus northwest, with the track being faced north-south, that north wind can really give you a push if it trends more north than northwest or west. So there's some opportunity there to get literally pushed by the wind if you can time it just right and get a little lucky.
Which end is north and which end is south?
I think the north end is 3 and 4.
So that would be coming across the racetrack from front stretch to back stretch. That's going to push you right now into turn 2. If it's northwest, it's going to come across from turn 4 to turn 2. And that's really not going to help you. The run ends up being a bit stale. It is the best lap so far from Schlocker, a 2:02. It goes down to the spreadsheet, down to the 4th decimal as a 2:01. But as far as the wind coming across the speedway, it's really not going to help you in any case. It's going to maybe unsettle the car a slight bit in 2 and 3. It might push you a little bit into 3, kind of push against you. If it starts coming out of the west, that's going to help you between 1 and 2 and hurt you between 3 and 4.
Yeah, it's so light that I'm not sure it'll have a major effect, but it is something to consider when you're going for thousandths of a second.
Yeah.
It's not something you could feel, but it could certainly influence the way things end up. Cross the line for Sebastian Kinder. First lap through a 40.071. That is the quickest he's run. That's off to a good start.
So already beating the average, Kinder has found something here in the setup. Rossman wants one more run. Hauser has disconnected. Hauser is done, it looks like, so he's happy with the second place run, at least second of these drivers. Keep in mind, these guys are battling for positions in the 20s and 30s to stack up 25th on to 33rd for the starting grid for Sunday's Classic IndyCar Indianapolis 500 on Race Spot. Hauser's happy with it. Blocker seems to be happy. We've not heard a peep out of Blocker or Granby or Egan, for that matter, our points leader. Coming in and having to go through bump day, our points leader is happy with his run. He's fourth.
I think for him, it's probably just more of a formality. If I need to get into the race, I don't really care where I start because the strategy will begin at the green flag. It doesn't need to necessarily start now. Kinder picks up more, 40.049. So the question now becomes for Kinder, he's picking up overall pace, but is it going to be enough to bump him ahead of Petconin or others on the charts?
Right now for Kinder, he's trending pretty good. He's going to be right even with, well, a little behind him. So he's going to be in front of Feuerstein. Feuerstein, rather. He's not really picked up a ton because he was at a 1.5 before.
Yeah.
But I mean, as far as positions, he's not picking anything up yet. But he is at least getting closer to where all it's going to take is another degree of wing out of the car, maybe, and suddenly he's up another position.
Well, shockingly consistent for Kinder. 40.023 continues to pick up pace, but this will be his final lap. He might need to pick up a little bit more if he wants an opportunity to beat Hans Petconin or others.
Let's see what he can do. Turn number 4, Sebastian Kinder. 7th on the one-lap speed charts. Where does he go? A 40.094. That's really solid.
Means his average is, at least what I have, is a 40.059, which would put him behind Petconin still.
Yep, that's bang on. That is accurate.
And now Rossman back on track again, going for a 5th run. And I think the desperation will start to creep in here at this point.
If you're Stefan Rossman, yeah. There's still a lot of time. There's still, let's see, what time is it? 40 minutes. There's still a lot of time for him to get another run in. But yeah, if you're Stefan Rossman, you've got to start to find something. You can't just keep making runs and expect something to change. The definition of insanity is attempting the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. So he's got to find some kind of ground to be made here. You can see track temp down another degree. So that's going to help him, sure, but something has got to change as far as the actual run itself. I do notice he's in 6th gear. He's not downshifting to 5th, and that could be it. It could be something as simple as that for Stefan Rossman. The gear stack maybe just a little bit different.
Off into turn 3 now. Did run his best lap previously, so that's a good sign. 40.206. That's only 4 thousandths off of Schlocker's best time. So that's off to a decent start, better than previously. What's lap number 2? 40.094. There's a 2/10 pickup there, and that will jump him to 8th in the single lap times. And this is what he's been looking for. This puts him in if he can just average out the rest of these laps.
So going the right direction. But is it enough for Rossman?
Well, Schlocker's going to probably request another lap, another run shortly.
Yes,
so he's
as
ready.
Well as Ethan Egan.
Yeah, there it is. Okay, so people are beginning to realize now, watching this 2/10 pickup from the guy that was sort of buried down at the order. Now this time through, I think there's some confidence associated with this. So last lap for
Egan
Rossman.
will speed for Stefan Schlocker.
All right. 40.024, faster still for Rossman.
Egan now hitting the track, leaving pit lane, and this is one that I'm really watching with a close eye. Coming in with the points lead, it's Ethan Egan, Lucas Laville, and Joshua Chin battling for this championship. They're separated by 6 points. Laville is 3 points back, and Chin is 3 points further back of Laville. Starting the day out in the rear is not that bad, sure. Strategy is going to help you out. Obviously, you can play whatever strategy throughout the course of the day. There's 500 miles to sort yourself out. But the problem here, if you're Ethan Egan, is do you get caught up in one of those early incidents? And I think that's what these drivers have to weigh. Honestly, they want to back out on that first lap. I think let those guys battle down to turn 1, obviously try and sort yourself out. But once you get to turn 3, set yourself out, set yourself away from all of that, set back, and I think wait on that first opening 5 laps. But also, you have to go and you have to get through the field. So what do you do in that case, Kyle? How do you feel about that?
Well, it's a 200-lap race. I don't see any need to drive out and try to be a hero in the early going. I like what you mentioned, stay out of the mix. Anywhere in this grid where you're starting is not going to be very fun. So you just have to, wait to that first pit stop and then make your pounce. I think that's the strategy. Meanwhile, we should mention Rossman's average of 40.103. Does that put him in? It looks like it does, Andrew, for now.
Oh yeah, moves him in by quite a nice amount, actually. It's only a couple of extra spots, I suppose, but it's a 10th and then some, a 10th and a half down to Schlocker. Once this sorts out, we expect Egan to go faster than Schlocker, which will put Schlocker back as the first car out. Feuerstein on the cut line, then Rossman will have that 1 position gap, pending what Ethan Egan is able to do. You see his best lap is a 39.8. He's already got that first lap of this run, so we just set that. Across the line one more time, goes even faster, a 39.7.
Jumps him up ahead of Granby in single lap pace. 3rd fastest car in a single lap that we've seen here so far this weekend.
And there's a little extra shade in 1. The track temp down to 89. It's continuing to cool off.
Everyone licking their lips now. Ethan Egan into turn 3. This is his 3rd lap as it stands, so next time by will be the white flag for Ethan Egan.
How do you try and play the clouds here? When do you ask for your final run of the day? How do you try and play that? I mean, it's almost down to RNG. You're working with the clouds in the sim, and it is quite realistic, but you just never really know exactly what's going to happen. You can see there's some cloud cover down to turn 1, and that's helping Egan right here. A 7.53 that last time through. Average is now a 7.93 overall over the course of the run. That's good for 3rd of the cars so far.
Yeah, in terms of planning out your final run, I think you can't look at any individual moment. I think you have to look at the trend of the day, and the trend is that it's been getting cooler, it's been getting faster. So with that in mind, I think you continue to run until it begins trending the opposite direction, and you have to give it 10-15 minutes. So if by 15 minutes to go it's still getting cooler, continue to run until you can't run anymore. Ethan Egan at 39.729, his average 39.778. That's mighty quick. Does that put him 3rd or 4th quick?
That's going to hold him 3rd for now. The top 3 of today have all been 39.7s. Blocker at a 39.727, Hauser a 7.30, and Egan now a 7.75. That's good for 3rd in front of Mike Grandy. That's moving Grandy down the order. Remember how Grandy went so fast, 2nd quick? We thought he'd stay up there. He's down to 4th now.
Stefan Schlocker back on track. He is now out, trying to move his way back in. It was the 2 Stefans going at it. It was Rossman prior that was out. Now it's Schlocker, so he needs to find some pace here.
And now this puts Bart Feuerstein back on the hot seat here. No matter what Schlocker does in this particular run, I think if you're Feuerstein, you've got to take a crack at it. You got to take one more run. I don't think you wait for Schlocker to go faster. I think you just go out there and you've got to get a bit faster. You've got to find something.
Yeah, I don't think you could risk sitting around, because if you wait to the last couple minutes and then someone decides to go out and then bumps you, then you're in real trouble. So regardless, I think you're right. I think he's going to have to go out as a defensive measure more than anything.
I think he's at least got to find a 10th or so if you're Feuerstein. You've got to get down to the 1s. You've got to, I think, to be any kind of safe. And even then, as these times continue to trend faster and faster, we see 3 40.0s on the board, a 40.1, a 40.2, and another 40.2. Those are Feuerstein and Schlocker. Those times you're going to pick up. Schlocker across the line, where does he go? It's a 42.01. I mean, this is getting very, very close. I think this is going to trend faster with that lap time. Well, about even with Feuerstein. Another lap like that, and he's faster.
Yeah, 40.201's the fastest he's gone. Still 10th quick of the drivers that have run in terms of single lap pace, but that's not how they qualify pole here. It's, again, the 4-lap average. And again, Schlocker needs to pick up a little bit. Next time by will be white flag. But all he's got to do is beat Bart Feuerstein's lap average, and then he's in, and Feuerstein would be out. I don't think that'd be a safe place to be, but at least you put yourself in and not be the one on the offensive. And that time through a 40.178. That is a much quicker lap. That bumps him up to 9th on the single lap speeds, and that means that he's looking pretty good in terms of average if he can just finish this thing off with another 40.1 or 40.2.
That's going to put him in for now. That will put him in front of Bart. A couple of more drivers requesting another run. Would you like to guess who?
We haven't heard from Petconin in a little while. So I'm going to guess Petconin. I'm going to guess Blocker. Those two.
Wrong on both counts.
Dang it.
I'm quite surprised about one of them, though. I think Mike Grandy has to be maybe next up on your list, and he has requested another run. He will go after Gavin Hibbs. Takes another crack at it. Stefan Schlocker, best time of the day so far for him. It's good enough to bring the average down to a 40.203. A 2:02.8 if you run it out to the fourth decimal. So that is good enough to move him into the race. Still a 10th off of Rossman. And a 10th and a half off of Kinder, the next two cars in front of him. And here we go, Gavin Hibbs. After Hibbs, we will see the 12 car, Mike Grandy, back on the speedway. I'm surprised about that one. But it's almost like, as I mentioned, we haven't heard anything from him. He's dropped from second to fourth. Kind of waiting on him to go back out. And I think with the track quickening up, down to 88 degrees now track temp, even though the ambient temperature is holding, I think it's about the time that we see Mike Grandy go back out. It makes sense.
Gavin Hibbs on his lap. First lap in the books. What will it be for Hibbs? A 39.939, and that is
His new best.
His new best, yes. So we'll keep fifth overall in the single lap speed charts. I like how this is trending for Hibbs, though. If he can continue to knock down times, he could knock Grandy down or Egan down, but he's going to have to find a 10th or two to do all that.
He's trending green. 2:30 into turn 3. He's trending green by a 10th.
Heard a downshift.
Ever so slightly.
Downshift late in turn 3. Kind of got to the exit of the corner, then downshifted to fifth. Now second lap, will it be quicker than his first? 39.939 to a 39.905. Yes, it is quicker, so he will pick up some more.
Ever so slightly faster. That's all you need. We're dealing with thousandths of a second right now. That's all you need. The top two of bump day are separated by 3 1,000ths of a second. That's all you need is those little things. I do wonder about where he did the downshift last lap, and I'm glad you called it out. Usually, I guess, common sense maybe take it to the center of the corner, which he does there, but I could maybe benefit taking it a little bit later in the corner. If you take it a little bit too early, you could slow your car down just ever so slightly. So if you wait until you're actually using the acceleration out of the corner, maybe that helps. I mean, it was almost like 6 to 1/2 dozen the other in that case.
Yeah, I think you're right. If you do it too early, it'll slow the car down. The reason why you do it sort of in the middle of the corner is because the increase in RPM actually helps the car rotate a little bit. But if you do it too late, big bobble for Gavin Hibbs on the exit at turn 2 on his final lap. If you do it too late, you could be risking, hurting your acceleration because you already might be at the RPM you want to be to accelerate more. So Hibbs, it's not hurting him at all, though. 39.919 last time around. That bobble might cost him a little bit. Now to turn 4, what will Hibbs' new average be? Cross the line for Gavin Hibbs. New average for him is going to be a 39.926 average 4.
Solid run. It's going to move him into fourth now, with Grandy abandoning his lap time. And now Grandy will go back out. So I like that you go into more of the particulars, the science, the engineering behind why the car rotates. It makes sense in this RPM. I hadn't quite put that piece together in my mind. I just knew, hey, press this paddle and you'll rotate just the slightest bit, and it helps. It's just that skosh difference, but it allows you to take a little bit more aero out of the car, and you can be a skosh tight and get away with that downshift and just help you turn just that little bit in qualifying, and that matters because the more downforce you take out of the car, the less drag you have down the straightaway, the faster you're going to go down those long straightaways, down these long straightaways in Indianapolis.
The other thing that I learned recently about downshifting is, yes, it can help the car rotate because of the shock from the transmission changing gear and kind of shock the driveline, and that can help you rotate. But what it also does is when you increase the rotating components on the car, all the shafts and everything, and you actually create sort of a gyroscopic effect. And I was watching a couple drivers, namely I think it was Kimi Räikkönen at Spa, downshifting before they get to Eau Rouge to help stabilize the car. So before you turn in, you downshift, kick the car into high gear, And when you do that, it spins up all the components and it stabilizes the car because of the gyroscopic effects of all the spinning components, keeping everything going straight forward. Very fascinating engineering background there, as Mike Grandy is just gone fastest overall in the single lap speeds, 39.641.
Kyle Hyde, the engineer.
That's what I went to college
That's a
for.
grean explanation. That's a fantastic explanation, as it kind of, I guess, overshadows a little bit of Mike Grandy. Just that's an absolute heater. I mean, that is a fantastic lap time at 39.641. It ends up being long as a 39.640. A small discrepancy, because I can tell you in the iRacing sim, it checks over as a 39.640, and it gets logged for us as a 39.641. Couldn't tell you where that discrepancy may lie, but we'll work through it as best we can. The unofficial timing is a 6.40 anyways, and it's a 6.04. He goes even faster.
Wow, and have a look at this. Look at the averages now. Hauser and Grandy, as it stands, tied in the averages on the leaderboard. That is unbelievable. It's going to change, though.
The last four, yes, in the last 4 laps. It's going back to the last lap of the previous run. But just the fact that it's this close, even so, between Grandy and Hauser is just incredible. This last lap will change it. For Grandy, it's currently a 6.51 of these laps. Where does it go on this 4th lap? Across the line, it's a 6.11. He's going to go pole, I think. Or, well, not pole, but fastest of these cars anyway. Pole at bump day. There you go.
There you go. 6.42 average lap for Grandy. That was really, really fast. And Grandy will jump to the top of the leaderboard solidly. Next up,
Schlocker's back out for the run.
Yep, Schlocker going again. Already began.
Go ahead and pull that graphic back out for the weather. You'll notice a new 7 where an 8 was previously, maybe a 9. Now 87 degrees on the track. And maybe just the slightest tinge of maybe a little bit of shade on the back stretch. It's hard to tell. But there's definitely growing shade on the south end of the speedway in turn 1. More and more shade down there. That's going to help these drivers in that first corner. You can see it there. Look at the canopy there over the grandstands into turn 1, casting all of that shade. Yeah, it's perfect. Casting all that shade. That is really helping these guys in the first corner and the entire front stretch. Granted, you're not necessarily you're not turning, obviously. You're not necessarily needing the track to get cooler in that particular spot of the track, but less heat, less temperature on that pavement will at least reduce a little bit of temperature in the tires. You are still generating friction as you go over the pavement, so the less heat you can get even in a straight line is going to help you.
Yeah, I think you're right about the excuse me, the shadows on the racetrack. That'll help as well, especially on the south end of the speedway. But as Schlocker comes out of turn 4, he'll begin his 3rd lap. 40.22 last time by, now 40.156, still shy of his best laps of the day, but is improving and increasing his pace over the course of this run, which could prove to be beneficial for him. You see the turns 2 and 3 still bathed in sunlight, though, and it's going to be a little while. I don't think we're going to see any shadow over this part of the racetrack before too long. Just not enough buildings, not enough stuff in the way, but 4 front straight and turn 1 definitely could see some shadow encroachment here as we ride on board. Not a ton in turn 4 yet, but as you get to the grandstand area here and down towards the turn 1 area, there's where all that shadow lies. There.
And that shadow, again, even if it's just a little bit of temperature on that run up to turn 1, just decreasing temperature while you're creating friction over those feet of pavement is going to help. A couple more drivers, well, one more driver requesting another run as Schlocker continues this, what is this, 5th run of the day, 6th run of the day for Schlocker. He's really going at it. He needs to get into this race. Bart Feuerstein, somebody we've not seen in a long time since his initial, I guess, comeback from his initial crash. He will be back on the speedway here shortly. It's been almost an hour since he was on track. Actually, yeah, about an hour since he was on track, if not longer. So he'll be back out next. After that, we have 5 to 6 more slots. That's it. 5 to 6 more possible runs in bump day here for the Classic IndyCar Series, Indianapolis 500. That lap there for Schlocker, good enough to take the average to a 1.7, which I think is faster.
Going to be real tight. I don't think he's going to feel confident regardless, especially with Bart heading back on the racetrack for his next run.
It doesn't just put Bart out, so it puts Schlocker in the race for now, but with Bart Feuerstein coming out, and you can see the shade growing on that one side of the racetrack, basically from pit lane down to turn 1. A load of shade gathering. I don't know. We'll see, I guess.
We'll see, I guess. Bart Feuerstein out of turn 4 takes the green flag for his third run of the day. Run 1 ended with a crash. Run 2 was better, but now he's below the cut line to make it into next week's Classic IndyCar Series Indy 500 and begins his run. And with
Bart Feuerstein and Sebastian Kinder are teammates. I imagine they're at least sharing notes, if not the setup. Feuerstein sitting, I think, about 3/10 slower, 2/10 slower than Kinder on the day. So I think there's speed to be found with this car in particular. How much, I don't know. That comes out of the driver largely and the line you take. Execution matters a lot. Obviously, setup is mostly, look at that last lap. It was about an hour between his last run and this one. 61 minutes.
Yeah, 963 seconds was his average lap. No, I'm just kidding. Across the line, 40.3. That is far off from where he's going to want to be.
Yeah, that's not where it needs to be. That's still a couple of tenths off of his teammate Sebastian Kinder. So there's speed there for the VOR cars. But something he's doing, and he's in 5th gear right now. Let's go up into 6th. No. So the problem here, he's in the limiter. His teammate's going to get on him. He's got to shift into, he's got to get into 6th in the turns 1 and 3.
Yeah, that could be hurting him. And it's just a little bit that it'll hurt you, but it's definitely not helping him very much. So 40.3 was lap 1. This is completion of lap 2. And beginning lap 3, 40.404. It's gotten slower.
He's only hitting 229 into the corners. He's got to shift. He's got to upshift. This car has 6 gears. You've got to use it. I think that's the difference. I hadn't noticed that until now, but he's hitting the limiter into the corners, and that's really inhibiting his time.
Here it is again.
You see, he's only going to get into the 229 area, 228 that time.
There he shifted into 6 finally.
Finally.
But in the middle of 3 and 4, that's going to hurt him even more. This is going to be a poor run, unfortunately. Last lap this time through, white flag in the air.
So fundamentally something to work on there. He's got time to work that out. He's still in 5th there, so he's still hurting himself into turn 1. You've got to, and he's going to hit the wall. Oh, he just knocked it down. That's a big impact. Oh, look at the guardrail.
Big hit for Bart Feuerstein, and that is going to end that run, unfortunately. And red flag out for pretty major impact there at the exit of turns 1 and 2. Here it is again. Yeah, it just was offline, and we saw this happen earlier. Oh, man, big hit.
And whereas the downshift helps you rotate, an upshift there is going to hurt.
Yeah, I mean, you don't, this is not, the shifting deal, you really don't want to be upshifting in the middle of the corner. The upshifting's for the straightaway, the downshifting's for the corner. Big hit there for Feuerstein. But it seemed like there was some confusion as to what gear he should be in. Maybe didn't have a good concept of where it should be, but you can just listen to how off this sounds on the limiter, then goes through turn 1, and then it lifts too late. It just, yeah, not what he needed for sure. But he's going to go back out for another run. Well, goes from bad to worse.
Well, that should be a quick escape. Get back out there. That shouldn't. I think they'll let them. I think they'll let him get away with that one. It's really not going to hold anything up. More drivers are disconnecting, happy with their runs, but looks like they're going to hold him at the end of pit lane. They could hold him here. Yeah.
So does that count as a run? Well, looks like they're going to let Schlocker go.
Here goes Schlocker. Yeah. They're going to hold Bart in staging. That's interesting.
Let him cool down for a second and kind of recalibrate and give himself a better shot at making up. But this is a desperate time for Feuerstein now. And Schlocker's just doing this as a defensive run. That was really tight to pit exit there. The reason why Schlocker's going is just to defend from Feuerstein. But based on what I've seen, I'm not sure that I would be extremely worried. I think you're just trying to do the best you can for insurance.
I think for Bart, all it's going to take is that upshift on the straightaways. All it's going to take is that upshift, and I think, again, his teammate is in by a good measure right now. I think all it's going to take is that upshift, and that's really going to help him get ahead of Schlocker, potentially Rossman as well. So I think there's a small fundamental difference that Bart needs to work on his next run, and hopefully he should be there, at least for his sake.
Yeah, Schlocker's got a ton of corner speed. Lost some in turn 2, but here it is again in 5th gear. Now goes up to 6th, halfway down the straight. We'll expect to see 5th gear again. in the corner.
And in the race, these guys will likely stick in sixth for most of the race. That helps you. Yes, you can go to fifth if you're racing for the lead. Try and, again, help the car rotate in the corner and go a little bit faster. But if you leave it in sixth, when you maybe could go to fifth, that helps just ever so slightly, saving maybe a half lap of fuel, so that if you get into a fuel-saving situation, you just get that extra little bit jump start. So we'll see these guys mostly in sixth in the race on Sunday, but for right now, you've got to utilize fifth and sixth in these qualifying runs. You've got to make the most of the gear stack.
40.263 first lap for Stefan Schlocker. And this will, I would bet that this would be his last run unless Feuerstein can go faster. Again, these runs take about 3 to 4 minutes apiece, so you're really not going to get that many more opportunities regardless. Lap 2 for Schlocker. Will it be an improvement?
I wonder, can you request another run without actually going out? Can you get yourself in line and then say, all right, nope, we'll sit on it? I wonder.
Ooh, that's an interesting question. Really tight for Schlocker at the exit of turn 2, or turn 1 rather. And it is an interesting strategic question that I don't know the answer to. I would imagine that you could. I mean, at the very least, you could go out and just, well, no, you couldn't, because once you leave your box. Well, I think is it how?
I think what we learned with Bart spinning out of pit lane, once you leave your box, especially once you leave pit lane, that's a run.
Well, I wonder if when you request it, if that's your run, if they wipe your previous time, they might.
In fairness, I have noticed most of the time, once they request a run, usually the previous run gets stricken out in the spreadsheet.
So I wouldn't risk that then.
Yeah, that's a good point. Really good laps right here from Schlocker. 40.1s, I should say. Really solid, really consistent, trending in the right direction. It's going to put him at a 1.9 currently. 40.19. So it is at least in the race for now compared to Feuerstein, but he's got almost a tenth up to Rossman, and I think he's going to have to gain that if he wants to have any semblance of safety.
Well, Feuerstein's leaving the box again for his next run. Schlocker across the line. 40.128.
Good lap. And what it comes down to for Schlocker is the first lap. The first lap was a 2.63. The other laps were in the teens. I mean, really, if he's able to nail down that first lap, get a little bit closer to a 1.0, he's got something there. I think he's playing with the good kind of fire, potentially, for Stefan Schlocker. Bart Feuerstein, though, he has got to find the right thing. Last lap, that's odd. It's a 37.8, but...
well, there you go.
There we go.
So across the line, he'll begin, and this is going to become a desperation run, because I will bet that even if this run gets scrapped, he will only get one more opportunity to go. So this will be his penultimate chance.
Maybe two. Maybe.
Yeah, this is going to be... I wouldn't even bet on 2, right? Because if they take 4 minutes per run, Schlocker would get another run, Feuerstein would get another run, and then Schlocker would go again, and by that time your time has elapsed.
And then you've got to bet on it being this run, obviously. That's the goal you should have as a driver each and every time. He is shifting properly. He is shifting nicely in the sixth gear.
Oh, that's quick. 40.043. That's going to jump him up ahead of Schlocker in single lap pace. If he can average this out, that would do it. But he's got to get this as an average and not just a peak.
Yeah, he's taking a very shallow entry to turn 2. I think he needs to do kind of the Dale Earnhardt approach, Daytona. The reason he used to qualify so well at Daytona, he cited as, oh, now he's holding it in 5th. He needs to be on that gear. If he wants to qualify into this race, he has got to be ready to shift up into 6th. But Dale Earnhardt always liked to swing the car out, let it carry its natural momentum from the bottom line of the corners up to the wall on exit. Let it just carry itself around. Don't fight the car. When you fight the car, hold it down, you're scrubbing speed. If you let the car kind of float out there, you're letting the car do its thing and take a straighter line.
Quicker still.
He's quick.
40.015. He's picked it up, and he's right behind Petconin and ahead of Kinder in the single lap speeds. So that is trending in the very positive direction for Feuerstein.
Track temp down to 85 degrees. We knew that his teammate had speed, and this is showing it right now for Bart Feuerstein and the whole VOR camp. They've got speed. Bart just needed to get that down fundamentally. Now that he's got it, and he is moving quickly. That's all he needed was that gear shift.
Last time around, he's going to nail one more lap around this 2.5-mile racetrack, and he will be in. Schlocker is rolling again for another attempt.
Wow, wow, wow. He's got one more lap to do it. He's at an 0.34 right now. That sets him just behind Petconin. No. Yes, just behind Petconin and in front of Kinder. So now Kinder may be on the hot seat. Rossman on the hot seat potentially for Schlocker. If Schlocker gets himself into this race, Rossman is out. That's how this is going to work out. As long as Bart Feuerstein makes it through one more corner without issue.
Checkered flag for Feuerstein at the exit of the 4th turn here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. An impressive drive after a run to forget about, 40.054, and Feuerstein is in to the Classic IndyCar Indy 500, an average of 40.040. That's a pretty good run.
And at this point, there's only Schlocker's run here. Rossman is in for one more run, and maybe a run after that. Maybe. That's a big maybe, Kyle. So at this point, I think Feuerstein is locked in. Just about.
Yeah, no, I would think that there is no way that he could get knocked out at this point. I think he's locked in.
Kinder could line up for another run, and if all three of Kinder, Rossman, and Schlocker, if they all went faster, they could knock Feuerstein out. But that's asking for a lot to go right.
I don't think that there's enough time for all 3 runs to happen. I think you have to get your run started before the clock ticks down to 0, and even then, I don't think you're totally safe. So I think you've only really got time for 2 more runs. So Schlocker comes across the line, 40.179. That's about 500ths off of his, or 400ths rather, off of his best overall. So he's not quite getting to where you got to be in the 40.0 somethings to be competing with where you need to be.
Yep. You've got to beat Rossman. Rossman at a 40.10. So if you're at a 1 at all, you're not safe. You're not going to make this race. If Stefan Schlocker runs any more 1s, he's not in this race. At this point, he needs at least 1:39.9.
Cross the line for lap number 2. Will he pick up at all? 40.171. It's not looking good for Schlocker.
Rossman queued up, ready to go.
Oh, really tight to the turn 1 exit wall.
I don't think he hit it, but he may have. I don't think he did.
Regardless of whether he hit it or not, it's going to be a pretty monumental achievement to improve and get himself in the race. So whether the time counts or not would make a huge difference, I bet.
Kyle, is this where we find out if Rossman can request the run but not go out and hold it?
If we're going to find it out, it'll happen now. White flag for Schlocker.
Kinder has also registered for the final run. Kinder will be the last car out. So Feuerstein isn't totally safe. Not totally home free yet.
Yeah.
Across line for Schlocker, it's 1:46. Now Feuerstein is safe.
Yeah, this Schlocker can't bump Feuerstein at least. He might be able to bump one of the other drivers, but I don't think it's likely.
My goodness. Bart Feuerstein. I'm mixing all kinds of names up, and I apologize. But Bart Feuerstein, from 0 to hero. I'm very impressed, and I want to give a quick round of applause to Bart Feuerstein. Getting that right. That's really impressive in my opinion. That's a feel-good moment.
Solid run and at a time when you needed it to happen. But for Schlocker, his fastest lap of the day, right at the end, of 40.082, but it's not going to be enough.
Even Kinder is wondering when he can abort. I don't think he necessarily wants to go.
I don't think he has to, because Schlocker did not go faster. So that leaves just Rossman, and regardless of what Rossman does, Kinder's in the race.
Unless Rossman goes faster.
Oh, right.
Schlocker, that's if Schlocker is able to get another run.
Oh, you're right.
Officials are holding reserve. Officials are holding a reserve slot. They are holding a 40th slot. It's a maybe.
Well, Stefan Rossman working through 3 and 4 now. Start his final run of the day. First lap across the line.
Passing green cones. That's what race control just told these drivers. If you pass the green cones at the end of pit lane, that counts as an attempt.
All right, so Rossman, a 40.165. That's not a very fast lap, is it?
No, it's not. Again, you've got to be in the 40.0s if you want to beat, well, the time that Rossman had. And now Rossman giving up his lap time. Oh, boy, could you imagine if he gives it up and Schlocker makes the race?
Well, again, Schlocker's average is a 40.144. Right now, that's quicker than Rossman's average, at least on this 4-lap run. He's got to run a couple more, but, man, when they wipe those times, you don't get to choose your best. It's whatever is the most recent 4-lap average. Rossman, 40.038. That's back on pace.
If he keeps that up, he's got it. Now, Schlocker has tentatively slotted himself in for the final run of the day, run number 40. If that happens, we don't know yet. We're going to find out pretty quickly.
He's going to have time to do it. Next time by will be white flag for Rossman.
Well, Kinder's in between. Kinder's next, then Schlocker.
Well, I haven't seen Kinder get on the racetrack yet, at least not load into the pit box. So that might be the answer to the question, can they request but not actually roll? We'll see.
That's a great question.
White flag for Rossman. And now Kinder enters the box, and he's leaving the pits. So Kinder will get a run. Oh.
So Rossman completes lap number 3 there. It's a 40.049. He's trending in a 40.08 right now. That is good enough to beat Kinder. No, hang on. 08. That is not good enough to beat Kinder. That is only good enough to beat Schlocker. So he's behind Kinder. He needs to be a 40.000 right here if he wants any chance of getting to Kinder here.
I think he's really just focused on the driver behind him. He's in the race right now. If Schlocker bumps him, is that right? Or are we just taking 8?
Taking 9.
Taking 9, right. So he's 40.057. So that means that his average is a 40.077, if I've done that correctly. And that means,
my goodness. And Kinder has left the pit lane. Kinder did not need to.
Oh, boy.
Kinder was in the race.
Well, he had to leave because when you're told to leave, you must leave. So now he's going to have to race his way back in. So he's going to have to tie or improve upon his best lap previously. Now, this makes me nervous because Feuerstein was only able to go faster after a couple more chances. Kinder's only gone, what, once or twice?
Once or twice, sounds right. What is helping him, look at all this cloud cover. This is the most we've seen all day. 84-degree track temp. This is the best possible run that Sebastian Kinder could possibly hope for. Maybe. That's curving in 1. Oh, you can't do that.
That's one way to scare everybody on your team. But Sebastian Kinder on the back straightaway now. VMAX on the bottom right of your screen. 227, 228, 229, 229 max speed. Couldn't quite get it to 230.
He held it in 5th a long time and downshifted early.
So coming back to the stripe. Cross the line to record his first of the 4 that will determine whether or not he's in it. 40.087, that's a solid first lap.
This is the last run of the day.
This is lap 2.
Run number 39 for car number 97. He has got to beat an average lap time of 40.1438.
I think I'm confident. I'm confident that he can do it as long as he doesn't make any mistakes. First lap was a good one. He might even be under 40 seconds here. He might go quicker than his previous best. Cross the line. Is it quicker? 39.975.
That's good. That's almost going to do it. He's not home free. 2 more laps to execute, but he's looking good.
That was the 6th fastest single lap speed that we've seen all day long. This is lap number 3. So 2 of the 4 laps are in the books. He's got to complete 2 more.
You could cut the tension with a knife. Solid 3 and 4, shade back over the speedway. Down to 83 degrees track temp.
White flag, last lap. The 2021 Classic IndyCar Series Indy 500 bump day. Sebastian Kinder goes quicker still. No, not quite quicker. 39.993. A little bit off his best. But I would say that unless there's a massive mistake, he is into this race safely. This will be a really good run for him as well.
The average currently at 40.01. That would put him in front of Bart Feuerstein, his teammate, and in front of Rossman, and in front of Schlocker, more importantly.
Sebastian Kinder in the number 97 rolls out of turn number 4 in the Indianapolis bump day qualifying for the Classic IndyCar Series. Is he going to be in or out? Across the line, the last lap in his 4-lap run, a 39.974. Sebastian Kinder is in to the Indy 500 next Sunday.
That bumps Stefan Schlocker and Paul Velasco.
Kinder's average of 40.007. Solid laps by Sebastian Kinder.
That time rather fitting with the latest James Bond movie out.
Well, qualifying is complete. No more runs left on the day. Wow, what a qualifying run, but let's just take us through some of the dramas here in this one. The quickest driver of all today in bump day qualifying turned out to be Granby with a 39.642 average. Tristan Hauser ran a couple of times, ended up with 39.731. Is that accurate? 39. Oh no, it was Blocker that was second, a 39.73, followed by Hauser, 39.73 as well. Egan, 39.78. Hibbs, a 39.93. Petconin, a 40.01. Kinder, 40.007. Feuerstein, a 40.039. And Rossman, a 40.077. Stefan Schlocker in the number 89 is not going to make it into the Indy 500 next Sunday. Andrew, that was a wild qualifying day, especially towards the end there. It all came down to who was in, who was out at the end.
And the difference between racing and not, 7/100ths of a second, less than a tenth. That's all it comes down to. That's all it comes down to for these drivers. Rossman in, Schlocker out. Man, I don't have many more words to sum that up other than, man, that's painful, of course, for Schlocker, but wow.
Got a couple of our drivers waiting to talk to. Let's chat with Gavin Hibbs real quick, who ran up inside the top 5. Gavin Hibbs, you got a copy?
Yeah, what's up?
Hey, Gavin. Today, bump day qualifying for the Classic IndyCar Series Indy 500. Pretty solid run for you. Went out a little bit later in the session to get a bit of a better time. How much do the conditions change from early part of the day to the late part of qualifying?
Oh, it changed massively. I know, it definitely is important to get, one of those last runs out with how the track temp was decreasing so much, needing so much grip through the corners. It really helps out your runs big time. And I felt like I was in already, but I just wanted to make sure, go out one more time to lock in my spot for next week, and I'm glad I did.
Well, you locked yourself in. Next week, you're going to start in the field of the Classic IndyCar Series Indy 500, over 30 cars deep. How do you feel about your setup for race day?
I have no clue. I've been focused on, just trying to get into this race. Just first time doing an open setup IndyCar league like this. Really is important to get set up down, and but we got a week to work on the setup, make sure it's great in traffic, and hopefully we can drive through the field and have a good results next Sunday. But anything can happen around this place.
Anything can happen in Indianapolis. Gavin, thanks for talking to us. Good luck next week on Race Spot. We'll watch you and be cheering you on.
Thank you, and thank you for broadcasting Bump Day today.
Very welcome, Gavin. Thanks for talking.
Thank you.
Got Stefan Schlocker with us as well. Hey, Stefan, you got a copy?
Very much so.
Hey, man, it was a tough qualifying for a couple drivers today, having to make runs over and over and over again. You completed 45 laps total, including your warm-up and cool-downs. At the end there, it got pretty dicey. Take us through your runs and your attempt to make it to the Indy 500 next Sunday.
It's always a little bit harder if you're a one-man show to make it into a great grid like the Classic IndyCar Series is, especially for the Indy 500. So already missing the qualifying day, I knew it's going to be very hard for me to get into the Indy 500. And it really did prove that way throughout qualifying. I always struggled with my first lap. I still don't know really what was happening there. I always kept losing at least a tenth out of the last turn without any real reason whatsoever on the first lap. Really stabilized in 2, 3, and 4. But yeah, at the end it just wasn't enough. Obviously, quite disheartened right there, especially. Could have had maybe a last run but Seb having some issues, I wasn't able to get that last run, sadly. And quite honestly, I'm not sure if I would have made it. I've made steadily improvements throughout all of my runs, but it just wasn't meant to be, I guess.
Well, Stefan, next weekend you'll be watching alongside us on Race Spot to watch the Indy 500, but a strong effort, gave it all you had, and congrats on at least a full day of qualifying attempts, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
All right, Andrew, wrapping things up here from Indianapolis for Bump Day qualifying for the Classic IndyCar Series. Your final thoughts on what we saw today? Some good action, and it came down to the wire for more than just the group at the top.
I think my first set of final thoughts here, Kyle, are this is what sim racing needs more of. These kind of organized events that are run so smoothly, and this kind of coverage. This is really special to be a part of. I don't think anything quite equals this. Being able to cover guys going at it and trying to set their best time of the day over and over and over. 2 hours of it as well. It's a chance for us to lay back even. It takes certainly a lot of focus and a lot of crunching numbers to sit through and whatnot, but it's a lot of fun to sit here and work through these qualifying runs, talk a lot about the driver, learn a lot about the drivers, and in this case, learn a lot about this series, the Classic IndyCar Series, brought to you by IndyCar. I'm going to be honest, IndyCar Ministries, is that what it was?
Yes.
Yes, that's what I thought. For some reason, it didn't sound right in my mind. IndyCar Ministries. It's a fantastic series. Just from this qualifying bump day, only from bump day, only half of the qualifying, this was fantastic. A fantastic thing to be a part of. This is what sim racing needs more of. And as far as what we saw on track today, I don't think you could ask for any more drama from just watching one car do circles around a rectangle all day long. Seriously, it's a very simple concept, but it gave us so much drama and so much to talk about, and it really is a fine art trying to get an Indy car, especially these classic Indy cars, around this speedway as quickly as you possibly can. 40 seconds is all you've got in order to set a lap time, and in that time you've got to cover 2.5 miles almost perfectly.
Next Sunday, the Classic IndyCar Series Indy 500 is on Race Spot TV. We'll see you there as fans next week. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time on Sim TV.